our standard cultural norms that are limiting? What if we could define that child's true potential? What if we were able to say, this is what this child could be, and then craft an education system that is able to do that? We're running prototypes right now to do this. What if every single human being is recognized for their unbelievable talent and skill, and we're able to find where they can be their optimal in the universe? And this is where we believe the dream is and where we go. First, kids that are being educated according to their true potential. Next, employees who feel like they belong. By the way, if I feel like I belong, my productivity is increased 56%. Spot on. A massive, massive reduction in discrimination. And people who finally see each other, who they are, as opposed to my color, my race, my gender. So when we get to that point, my belief is, humans, we cannot do that. We are predisposed to war and to fighting and to discriminating against each other. But if we leverage artificial intelligence to help us make better decisions, faster decisions, more accurate decisions, then we have a chance at making it through to machine consciousness and keeping the human race. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for that enlightening presentation. I'm sure all of you agree, right?
Yes.
Got to know more about AI. Yes, not scared anymore. Yes? Yes, scared? Still scared? I think you should meet Christine in person and speak more about AI, right? Yes, thank you. All right, Ms. Christine, I would like to once again invite you to the stage because we have a memento to present to you. And to do the honors, I would like to invite Mr. Neelan from Women in Management to the stage. Thank you, Ms. Christine, and thank you, Mr. Neelan. Moving on to the next keynote speaker. It's none other than Mr. Dinesh Vimalanathan from United Kingdom, the founder and chairman of Worcel Workdesk Group. Ladies and gentlemen, with pleasure, I would like to read Mr. Dinesh's bio. Mr. Dinesh Vimalanathan is a co-founder, chairman, and managing director of Worcel Workdesk, a platform that connects businesses with data professionals for improved data-driven decision-making and increased efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, join me with a big round of applause as I invite Mr. Dinesh Vimalanathan to the stage to deliver his keynote address.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for actually inviting me, particularly to Professor Selva. As introduced, I run a small AI company, and which specialize on data science, right? And I may make some controversial statement, right? And if anyone want to discuss, I'll be open for discussion after the meeting. My background is actually initially I went to Imperial College, UK. I live in UK. I done AI, the very first AI course in 1992. My master degree is artificial intelligence and neural networking. But I went to telecommunication business. I ran successfully for many years. 2019, I met one gentleman called Vishnu. He's my CEO now. And in Oracle, he was working for Oracle. And we decided to actually talk about data science and AI. So we decided, he decided to resign from Oracle and start his company, our company, Versal Desktop in India. What we do is, what Christine was saying, I almost agree most of 99% of the stuff. I don't disagree, I'm not but the problem is we going on a little bit different direction on the AI space, right? And we actually value the data science as a main subject of the AI spectrum, you know. And what we when we started the Versal Desktop, which was mainly focused on data science, right? And I normally speak on different technical forums and I get involved in the technical side. I never done any, this kind of speech. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk. I attend many very complicated technical meetings and everything. I never seen any woman, one single person, on these meetings, right? And only, we have weekly meetings, sometimes Helga joining us, one of our forum, and she's the only lady, right? And this high technical data science meetings, And so I decided maybe this is a good forum me to talk, get people interested. And so I'm going to not talk too much about technical. I will try to explain everything in plain English, okay? Right, so everyone understand. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer. Versal Desk is a very small company. We have around 60, 70 people full-time and maybe another 200 people part-time. We specialize particularly in data science. So we believe the data is master of AI, right? And which I don't think anyone will disagree, right? At the current system at the moment, we are using you can name every open source system. We are not reinventing nothing, we are using all existing system. The problem with at the moment is you are for example, ChatGPT, okay? You are taking a membership and you are putting information, you are giving your information to some organization, third-party organization. They do something called data grabbing and they do other things with this data, right? And start learning about yourself and get intelligence as you go along, right? And we are thinking completely different way. We are trying to help many companies we just started because we launched the company officially in February 2024 in Malaysia here, right? And we start helping SMEs and other people, and we built something called Versal Framework, which run all the open AI stuff, right? The only difference what we are trying to do, you don't put any data into the third-party software, right? You create your own ecosystem, right? And a lot of people have perception, it costs very highly costly, etc., etc. Now there are tools are slowly coming up because you are using generative AI at the moment. And we are already working on something called adaptive AI, which I think Christine mentioned is getting intelligent, making decisions, and it will get better and better. So if you go to the slide number 3, I think. Next one. So we are using generative AI usually, but my company already started working on adaptive AI, which means you can create your own ecosystem, right? And you don't need to have third party. So you say, for example, you are running a business with lots of data over 20 years, right? And this actually data belong to you. You don't want to give this data to third party. The data actually is money. You know, this is like a gold mine, okay? So what we are trying to tell actually is that you can create your own, as a business or personal, even you can have a personal, GPT system if you want, and you keep all the data yourself, right? And you join actually the Versal framework, and then you can create your own ecosystem independent. If you can go to the next slide, please. So this is an adaptive AI, actually, the recursive learning within AI ecosystem, So if you're a SME, small company, you want to create your own ecosystem, you can join us. You have 100% control of your data, not third party, right? And so from that, and you can set up the system, it learn itself, it get master and master. You don't need membership, this is your own data, and the system get, it learn itself as it goes along, And next one. So we are actually helping like SME communities and, especially women. We want to actually, our community be woman-centric. We are trying to promote this because, as I said, I attended around 50 meetings the last 18 months. I never met any ladies, okay? Even last night I was talking to around 15 people in another hotel, and CEOs of Malaysian companies. There's no ladies, only guys, right? And so we want to change this, and hopefully we can help, right? And coming back to this, I was talking about actually the data science and owning your data. So our company, what we are trying to bring actually is you can create your own ecosystem, right? And this become actually over the time, it will learn itself, and it's very compatible with all open source. We are not reinventing nothing, we are not trying to do anything new. Only we are looking in different angle, because as I said, the data is very important for a company, business, personal, etc. But it can be controlled by you. But there are a lot of, laws and restriction in UK, in Europe mainly, AI, right? And this one actually, they are trying to restrict, but what is happening behind, you are giving your data. For example, you join ChatGPT, you pay $40 or $50 membership, and you are giving also all your data, right? You are just putting all this info, you are searching, it starts learning itself, right? And so the ChatGPT has actually all intelligence particularly about your activities, so they do data grabbing, Behind that, they create something called data lake using the data intelligence. They gather intelligence and put in a common database. And it's very difficult to track, right? And possibly even impossible, right? And so if you want to do such thing, we actually suggest that you actually create your own ecosystem. You understand? And it is not expensive. The technology is moving very fast, right? What I done 3 months ago, today is too old, right? And so the people will be able to have their own GPT system, plus they can create their own ecosystem, right? Which can be linked to, but we have already framework in our company to do anything for any SMEs, like for example, we signed up around 28 companies now, last few days in Malaysia, big companies, and so they have their own data, they have own control. We also have a training system. We train people how to use this system, how to manage the system very well. So we are not trying to get rid of people, you understand? Because most of the companies, the people who work there, the AI is coming, it's going to take over my job, the life is finished. It's not, because we actually want more human-centric development we are doing. So people are involved in every stage, you understand? And we also have something called data controllers who make sure the right data, garbage in, garbage out, okay? So the right data is going in, and when the system gather data from outside, and someone check whether do we need this information, can we let it go into this, actually to our system, you know? And so it's absolutely important that to understand that the data itself is very important. You shouldn't give to anyone. That is my opinion, okay? Maybe. And I am very happy if I'm like other companies, you are paying me membership and give me all the data on the tray, you know, plate, right? And so I am getting benefit out of it because they take your data, you have no control of. It's, you know, arguable, you know, you have no control of most of the time because they grab the data, they can create something called metadata out of it, which means no customer data, only the data intelligence go into a data lake, which can be shared and sold to third party without even your knowledge, right? And Christine was trying to explain to me there are some EU Act and everything. You know, as I say, I'm a technical guy, right? I'm not familiar with the acts and things, but we have lawyers. But we are a EU-based company, so we had to have a compliance, right? And so, you know, if someone needs an explanation, I can ask my CEO to come. He's expert on this subject, actually, you know, the EU Act, AI Act, okay? So my, actually, my pitch today is actually to you guys is actually one thing. We are actually, there is serious data science development going behind the back, behind the door, right? And I attend many meetings, right? I possibly, today is actually 49th meeting, right? Last 1 month. And I meet many people. I said, I had never seen anyone, you know, one lady on this group. So I want the ladies here, young people, I want them to learn data science, and the data science is very important for AI, right? And so you can get involved, taking management position, you know, to you know, improve, you know, the whole system, right? And coming back to actually Versal as a company, we have actually a framework we built over all OpenAI, all 1,300 open source AI. But from that point, you can build the data actually lake and actually the ecosystem for your company. We can actually give you this, actually, we can give you this opportunity to build your own ecosystem. Once you build this, we also collect data behind the back. It's called metadata, which goes into data lake, okay? At the moment, you are giving this information to, for example, ChatGPT, and they are taking this information, you don't know what they do with it. But what we are doing, when we collect this metadata, we tag them, okay? And in the future, if this data is being sold to third-party company for information, the people who provided the data will get some money back, right? Instead of you paying, we will pay you by some money back. You understand? It's a little bit reverse thinking, right? And so this is a very different concept to normally people are, most of the people are familiar with using ChatGPT, Llama, you know, all these tools, how to use them. What you are doing actually, you actually start thinking. You are putting all this information, you are giving all this information on a tray to the third-party company to grab data, and then they use this data for other purpose, you know. What we are trying to say in plain English, you can keep your data yourself because the technology advanced now. Creating an ecosystem is very simple, right? It's a very simple technology. We already have many tools within my company. Some, like you want to say, for example, someone will do, create your own GPT system. It's a Professor Selva GPT, okay, for example. It can be created in minutes. I have a tool for this, right? So what we think, it will evolve like this in future because people are scared of giving data to third party, number one, because it's too much information and they don't want to share the data, right? So that is my message. And sorry. So what we want actually as a company, I was telling Helga, we like to encourage ladies to get involved on data science because, as I said, I go to universities, many places. Maybe I have met 1 or 2 people. They are also, but we are doing serious development on data science. And so you can start thinking about like some degree courses if someone, your children or grandchildren, and advise them to get involved on data science, And this is a way to go forward, And as I said, once you create your own ecosystem in a platform, if you don't like it, you can go to, for example, Copilot or X, whoever you want to go with. There's no restriction. You can take this data, move to another third company. But coming back will be very difficult because there'll be security issues and other things, And so what we are pitching for small companies, company owners, to be aware of that. You are giving all this information out, so be careful and start thinking about in a different way. And of course, you need to use the tools currently available, but you don't need to go into too much detail. You can start building your own system, right? And each SMEs, And so we have a enterprise version, small SME version, and even individual version is out. It will be out next year, late 25. So I think we are the only company came with this concept. And I found last night, I was searching on the internet last night, I found there's another company called Databricks. They just started. They are behind us maybe around 8 months, right? And so, as I said, it's evolving, things are changing very fast every month. And what I done 3 months ago is old today, right? And so that is my pitch. Thanks for giving me actually opportunity to talk. If anyone wants some clarification, talking, I'm happy to discuss. I'm going to be here till lunch, after lunch, and then I have a lot of other meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh, sharing your invaluable insights. Kindly remain on stage. And I would like to invite our program head and coordinator, Mr. Douglas Dean Clark, to the stage to present a memento to Mr. Dinesh. With a big round of applause, certainly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the most anticipated first panel session of the day 2 of our conference. It will be on AI in transformative leadership, and the moderator will be Miss Diane Duckworth from Spain. I would like to invite her to the stage. Miss Diane Duckworth, leadership consultant and CX strategist from Spain, to the stage to take her place. And I would like to invite the panelists as well to the stage, starting off with Ms. Anna Kok from Malaysia, partner at Malaysia. She's a climate change and sustainability services leader, Ernst & Young consulting firm. All right, Miss Anna will be a little late. She'll join us later. Moving on next, I would like to invite the next panelist, Mr. M. Nazri Muhammad from Singapore, adjunct practice professor, AI, founder and chairman, Center for AI Innovation, CEAI Global. Mr. Bharani Kumar Depru from India, CEO and founder at iSpray 360 DGTMG, Chief Data Scientist. Can we hear a big round of applause to the panelists, please? Thank you. Mr. Tarif Jaffrey from Thailand, the founder and CEO of Happily AI, and Mr. Tim Haynes from New Zealand, the CEO and co-founder at Neurofrog, New Zealand. And before we proceed, I would like to read a short bio about the moderator herself, Ms. Diane Duckworth. Is an accomplished marketing and CX executive and business capabilities innovator, data-driven, focused on problem solving and passionate about customers. Diane focuses on transformation through technology and innovation. Through her career, working first in the management consulting and then 2 decades in the global automotive industry with General Motors, Diane has created digital, CRM, and CX strategies and technologies transforming the customer experience. Today, she works through multiple channels, including fitsbits360.com, a consulting services startup, and enablers, a network of organizational and leadership coaching, transformation, client leadership capabilities, and growth. She has lived in and worked with markets in North America, Europe, South America, and Asia. Diane holds a Master of International Business from the University of South Carolina and a Bachelor of Science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Diane currently lives in Zaragoza, Spain. With a big round of applause, handing the stage over the panel session.
Thank you, and good morning. You know, I have to look at this group because all the panel discussions yesterday were 5 women and 1 guy. We're the technology team. Ladies, we have work to do. A lot of work to do. So with us today, we have Nazri Wu, professor, adjunct professor, founder and chairman of the Center for AI Innovation. We talked yesterday about companies needing big goals and big objectives. His objective with this company is to support society at large, people and industries, with AI solutions with the potential to change the world we live and work in. That's a big goal, and they're making progress. He and his company have received lots of awards. I'm not going to list them now because we're already behind time, but we're looking forward to learning more. Bharani Kumar, founder and CEO of AI Sprite. Again, a global AI services company that serves across many industries. Broad, I think we're all going to learn a lot about the potential in areas. And then we have Reef Jafari, who is the founder and CEO of Happily AI, passionate about tech and design, again, with the objective to use it for good. So we have some big objectives here. After people analytics research at MIT and a stint at Google, he's founded Happily AI to measurably improve the lives of people at work. So I think we're going to see, on top of the conversations we've already had today, a very big introduction to the breadth and the potential of what AI not only can do in the future, but is already at work today. So with that, I'm going to get into some questions. I'm going to start here with Nazri, because we've talked a lot about this idea of bringing in women and girls into technology. And he has, with his Center for AI Innovation, some very unique initiatives that are bringing women into the technology space through AI, and they are developing solutions. So please, tell us more.
Thanks, Diane. We've been involved in AI in the last 18 years or so, and 10 out of those 18 years relates to social economics, i.e. social impact measurement, social impact effectiveness, amongst others. And we've been equity invested by the Singapore government in one of our AI companies to create the positive impact across various segments of the society. Now, going back to the social economic side of things that we do up to now, is that along the way, we've dealt with various projects dealing with measuring social impact involving, let's say, the B40 population in Malaysia. how zakat money, right, or how charity money is being funded and how effective has those funds been to create an impact to the low-income families. We've assisted also in impact measurement on funding to single mothers of P40 low-income families who are also happen to be single mothers. We've also involved in environmental matters. We partnered with various universities here to measure the effects of harmful algae bloom on the rivers, on the seas that affects fishermen's lives by analyzing satellite data, water quality data, amongst others, weather patterns. Yeah. Then along the way, we came across situations where we wanted to measure the impact of healthcare screening, cancer screening on low-income families in various villages in Maharashtra, India. And that's where thousands of villages were given free cancer screening so that various preemptive measures can be undertaken to basically detect cancer and give them the right treatment before it becomes serious. Along the way, we realized that more and more women are coming forward naturally, not because of tokenism, not because of proactive recruitment of women, but we realized that women who are involved in our projects happen to be more articulate, more meticulous, and more organized. And we began to realize from 10 years, 9 years, 8 years, 3 years, 2 years, and 1 year ago, more and more women started coming forward. And then we decided that, hey, let's create a very concerted campaign to recognize the top 20, top 30 women who are very innovative, who are very much advocacy of AI solutions. And then we involve young female students from various secondary schools onwards to be involved in social innovation projects. So by way of the projects that we do, we recognize naturally that women, and even at an early age, right, they have a heart for society and natural tendency to want to help the society. And we imbue them, we embed them, we provide them with the opportunities of what we call 3 capitals: social capital, intellectual capital, and financial capital. Now these 3 capitals equate or provide the essence or ingredients towards becoming a transformative leader. Being a leader does not mean that we give you followers. Being a leader doesn't mean we give you projects. Being a transformative leader means that you must be an agent of change, a leader of change that comes with these 3 capitals. Without these 3 capitals, you cannot go far. Social capital, the ability to network, right? The ability to access top expertise, mentors, etc. Intellectual capital, the ability to equip yourself with AI technologies that can help speed up the decision-making process, the complex algorithms, the complex data that comes forth to you. Third is financial capital. Provide them with the opportunity to create income, provide the opportunity to create wealth, provide the opportunity for them to use their skills with AI to generate their own income streams. So with these 3 capitals, we recognize that to be a transformative leader, you need to be given the opportunity to shine by harnessing these 3 capitals, right? That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's wonderful to hear the opportunities that it is creating. So thank you. I would like to introduce Irina Cook, who got caught up in the traffic, I believe. Comes from Ernst & Young, partner at Ernst & Young, and is the lead of the Malaysia Climate Change and Sustainability Practice. And with that, actually, I will turn it over because we would like to learn more about how you are using AI in the environment, in the projects, to support the climate change initiatives and sustainability. But I would also ask if you can talk to the flip side, which is the concern of the perspective that AI also has an impact, a negative impact on the environment in the sense of the cost of the data centers, the energy, the water, the space. And so there is a concern in the world of where's that balance? And I'd be very curious to know how that balance is looked at in the evaluation of projects.
Thank you, Dan. So thanks, first and foremost, thanks for inviting Ewan and myself to share what's the use cases. Now, there are quite a few interesting ones, but I'll share a few critical ones so that you can actually consider, where the direction is. So when we look at global solutions, in EY sustainability, we do strategy, policy, assurance, audit, traceability, supply chain, and digitalization and automation. So those are set, you pretty much can think about the end-to-end when it comes to how do we work with regulators, financial institutions, banks, corporates, as well as the policymakers. Now, a lot of the technology that we have started deploying is not a standalone. Let me be very direct in terms of how we deploy. We have internally EYQ, which is AI to support the whole of firm to actually provide ease of automation as well as supporting. In the past, a lot of organizations, they have to a certain extent help desk and support. But right now, a lot of it is very much a real-time support. So that actually eases the audit traceability, analytics capability, building, and how you are actually getting information, but within a safe environment. So the EYQ is actually being drawn to support the day-to-day activity and also optimization. But when we think about how we are using it when it comes to the environment of a client, a lot of it, the large or the recent award-winning AI deployment is in EU. Given the EU Green Deal and as well as the legislative transformation, the technology we have actually worked on with a few clients is actually helping them to scan where are their logistic operations globally, what are the local jurisdictions requirements, and whether do they have a high risk in some of these areas. So it could be an oil and gas company that actually have operations in Saudi Arabia, or they can have in Sudan, and what are the controversies that can be thrown out quite critically given the emerging changing landscape. So these actually requires not just AI capability, but it's also capability of those who are able to identify and validate this data. So it actually is our campaign on greenwashing, but it helps to enable a more real-time and also a more strategic direction. Now, that has actually evolved to also advise on legislative, legal claims, legal lawsuits, and how to navigate some of these. So you can almost imagine having business operation risk being identified next to the sustainability management, next to the legal compliance, three of them within the same ecosystem. So hopefully that gives a view of, this is just one of the area that we are just tackling, just legislation, lawsuits, EU Green Deal, and directive. The second part of the question you talk about is, now what would be the key challenge, while this sounds good and promising for us to get real with all the real issues, the downside definitely is everywhere we are seeing a lot of projects on data centers, and it requires a lot of heavy capacity as well to actually drive AI. So in Malaysia itself, there are already at least ongoing feasibility and 3 data centers coming up in Johor and a few other areas. No doubt it will be a huge energy guzzler. There is also a need to understand the local needs as well as what the intention of the data center is supposed to drive. So we have to actually look at what are the trade-offs, but within the green data centers ecosystem and AI capacity, there are already predetermined ESG matrix. For example, the water as well as the need of the cooling mechanism. If they are going to be partnering with Microsoft or China, there will be also certain matrix specifications. At this point, we don't think that it will be a full renewable energy powered data center. Unfortunately, Malaysia will still have coal, so it's going to be a hybrid, but it doesn't take away the need for optimization and transformation.
Thank you very much. I think what we're trying to show here with the breadth of participation and people coming from very different applications and utilization of AI is that, AI it's so multifaceted that there's so many different ways to look at it. So we're looking at it, how it's being used by people and bringing people into business, how it's being used to enhance what we can do in business in this concrete area that consultants can accelerate and deepen their analysis. And so we're going to move on another facet, another direction. Bharani, you have an AI services company. I think we're all familiar with web development companies. We're all familiar with digital development companies, but an AI services company across industry. What is that? And tell us more about how that technology is being used and spread across what is the business world.
Thank you so much, Dan. And thank you for the organizers for having me here. My name is Bharani. And I happen to be CEO and founder of two companies. One is called as AI Stride, which is into AI services. Another is 360 Digit Engine, which is into EdTech services. Right? And incidentally, I think there is a relationship between me and all of the panels, right, in terms of education and in terms of the work experience. Arena, I work with Deloitte. I was part of Advanced Analytics and Actuarials. I was stationed in US and I was handling clients over there. There are a few interesting projects which we have done in the space of ESG. I wish to talk about that as well. And Mr. Nazri, I'm also visiting faculty at London Business School. Once in every 3 months I travel, so there is a similarity there. And Mr. Tarif, I also have, or we rather have, a learning management system which is AI driven. Okay, I'll start with that. So this AI-driven solution or learning management system that we have will enable the webcam while you watch a video, with your consent, of course. We don't store the videos or images in the backend. Instead, it is processed on the edge, on the camera itself. It will determine whether you were sleepy or confused, etc. during various portions of the lecture. We'll say that from 5th minute to 8th minute, you were confused. And these topics were discussed while you were confused. Right? From 18th minute to 16th minute, you were drowsy. And while you were asleep, these were the different topics which were discussed. That's, analytics, and I believe happily.ai has something to do with humans, right? And ensuring that humans are really happy. So capturing the emotions of the humans is extremely important. AI is used in that space also. And with respect to ESG, environmental social governance, we work with a paper manufacturing company. How does paper manufacture? You harvest the trees and use that to manufacture paper, right? So we were given a project by one of the clients, and their ask was, look at the satellite images. Like you have Sentinel-2, you have Planet Earth, etc. These are the open source platforms which will give you access to satellite images. And we are expected to figure out what are the areas where we have eucalyptus tree, for example, right, which is used for harvesting. And when are these trees ripe for harvesting? We need to determine that. And the moment a few acres of eucalyptus trees are harvested, we also need to figure out whether equal quantity of trees or plants are planted somewhere else or not. So this is how you contribute back to the environment. Right? So you have AI in that space also. And we do projects for Coca-Cola. And in Coca-Cola, you have a lot of machines, like you have blower unit, chiller unit, filler unit, packaging unit, all of these. And these machines talk supposedly. Right? How do they talk? If they get heated beyond a point, they vibrate differently. They give you a different sound. So we, as AI experts, should figure out what is the data that you need to capture. Like spindle speed, hydraulic pressure, right, temperature, vibration, etc. And then you can predict whether a machine will fail or not, even before it fails. This is a project which we have been doing since 2017 for 19 different plants of Coca-Cola, basically. And on the other side, we also have Korean Airlines as a client. And Korean Airlines, whenever they have cargo, which has to be transported, they get hold of the big players. And then they say that, okay, out of 3,000 cubic capacity, we will reserve 800 cubic capacity for you. Whether you use it or not, it's there for you, reserved. And these big players sometimes book only 100 cubic capacity. They pay only, amount for that. And sometimes they book 800 cubic capacity. So it's very volatile as such. So the Korean Airlines team approached us saying that, would you be in a position to forecast demand, both long-term and short-term, so that if we come to know that only 20% of 800 cubic capacity is going to be full, then the remaining space I can sell it to someone else. Why fly empty, right? So this is yet another project. And we did a similar kind of project for one of the pharma companies, where we forecasted how many drugs are needed, how many vital drugs, how many desired drugs, how many essential drugs are needed in liver specialty, heart specialty, so on and so forth. So to answer your question, Dan, we have AI cutting across the various industries, right? And one solution that we do for a specific customer can be replicated to the customers in various other industries as well. So hope that answers the question on how AI services is applicable to various industries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it does answer the question, and I think it enlightens us all on the different applications of the advanced thinking, the advanced analytics, the advanced decision-making. And I think it's interesting that we all sort of internalize the idea that none of those projects and the way the technology was used was taking away any job. The people still have to use the analytics, and it's enabling advancement. So I think it's very interesting that we see there's threatening elements to AI, and there's the opportunistic and the advancements that we can get with AI. I'm going to shift a little bit now, because what I want to bring into the conversation that Christine had started was around the area of humanity. There's a lot of fear. We talked about this earlier, who's afraid of AI, this idea that it's going to be a machine that's going to decide who gets what job, who goes into which college. There's been discussion of AI is going to be adjudicating criminal cases, and AI is going to decide who gets set free and who goes to jail. So what we really want to understand is, where is that humanity? Reef is looking at AI in a completely different way and applying it in very personal processes. So I'd like to understand, how do you address the question of, are we taking humanity and ethics out of decision-making? And where's the opportunity to bring the AI, to bring humanity back into our decision-making, and for the benefits and developing humanistic skills?
Yeah, thanks, Diane. It's a question that keeps me up at night, and first thing I think about when I wake up. The simplest way I have found to look at it is that the knee-jerk reaction to using AI is to replace humans. Right? Let's automate processes because we're trying to optimize for reducing cost. If that's going to be the knee-jerk reaction every single time, we're in for a bad time. The analogy here is that, or what happens when we're only looking at replacing, is that we then do it and we find out it doesn't work, and then we throw out the technology. Right? It's like inventing the car and going straight to self-driving without actually having humans drive the car for decades. And if self-driving doesn't work, we just don't just throw away the car. We have to figure out, okay, how can we actually use this technology and pair it with a human to actually drive better outcomes? And so we should be shifting from trying to replace humans to trying to develop and enhance. And I think it's subtle, but it's a very big difference. I think the way I think about it is that developing a human, for example, when I'm typing an email and there's a spell checker and it's telling me that I spelled something wrong and I'm able to then manually solve it, I'm learning how to spell better over time. But the other way of doing it is just to autocorrect, which is that it takes that out of the equation. It's very subtle, but the generation that only uses autocorrect are much worse spellers than people who use a spell checker. And then AI is so much more powerful than that, right? So if we use AI to help us think, that's great, that's developing. But if we're using AI to replace our thinking, then we will forget how to think. And to Christine's point, I think we humans have biases, And a very big part of who we are and how we develop ourselves is developing the EQ and IQ to manage bias. That's part of how we develop ourselves. If we take AI and use AI as the function of reducing bias, then humans would forget how to do that themselves. So we'll be able to interact with AIs all the time, but not with each other. And I think that's what we've come to see, is that we've become more polarized because the skills necessary to be human and form human relationships are being taken away from us. So going back to the context of work, and the work, the company that I work at is called Happy.ai, but we're not trying to solve happiness directly, but indirectly, by seeing that and understanding that human relationships drive fulfillment and happiness, and developing the skills that allow us to do that as effectively as possible.
Thank you, Reef. It's fascinating to see the variety of different applications that AI is being used. And so I wanted, with the questions we've asked, to be able to see a bit of the range of applications. And I'd be curious first to have 4 experts here. Do you all have questions for each other in terms of the overlap or differences from where your businesses are coming from?
Probably I'll ask this question to Ms. Arina. And nowadays, ESG is a big thing, and everyone is talking about sustainability and climate change. Right? So when you build AI solutions for different companies, do you also look at the kind of ISO standards which the companies have to abide by? And do you also go extra mile to look at from whom is this company, say there is a manufacturing company, say Nike, right? Who are the various companies from whom they procure these products? And do those companies, those vendors also abide by the sustainability norms? Do you actually do these assessments as well?
The short answer is yes. And I think it ties in quite nicely with some of the solutioning we're doing for banks and financial institutions. So there's 2 things they want to know. For a bank, they want to know if, how are they faring compared to other banks. So a lot of the strategy on AI is portfolio strategy. How do you do allocation of funds into asset classes, whether you are going to go bigger on corporate banking or you're going to go bigger in retail banking? Are you going to deploy solutionings at different marketplace? What are the green ESG products that everyone's asking? So from a portfolio strategy, this can actually be deployed to understand the current standing between their competitors. So in that solutioning, there is always a benchmark indicator. Green ratios, what are the returns on top of economic returns, green ratios, what are the indicators, do they have a sustainable finance targets, what are the finance emissions targets. So these are the few indicators when you compare a competitiveness and performance of bank by bank. But there's also a secondary layer. In order to do well as a bank, it's also to a point where are you able to have an engine as a bank to evaluate customers? This is your ESG credit ratings, due diligence. How do you decide or at least rate positive screening versus a negative screening? So these are things where it comes to transaction level as well as customer level strategy. And how this is being done, there are few rating assessment on top of international standards. So if you're on Bursa, there's already a 300 over on FTSE for good indicators. But not to overwhelm everyone, the reality is under different ratings, there are different number of indicators. So to tackle a number of indicators is very exhausting. So you need support to actually be able to analyze. So some of those that we work with are people who already start to provide the ease, like Bloomberg, MSCI, Sustainalytics, RAM. So they will actually, this is their area of rating. But if you think about it, it's already like few of it. And what's to come is all banks will have different rating. So it's not going to get easier, because what most people, or where most organizations think is they could buy off-the-shelf ratings. But you don't have on-the-ground real-time evaluation and tweaking of what your customers have progressed. So there's a lag time between what your rating shows and how people do their internal scoring versus what's actually on the ground. And I think the only way is everyone will move towards having their customized rating assessment enabled by not just real time, but also AI solutionings as well. So hopefully that gives you a view. There's two different strategies happening, at least in the banking ecosystem.
I have a question, but not so much for the panelists because I've learned a lot from their experiences. I have more of a question for the audience. Now, central to this whole discussion is about AI in transformative leadership. The question that I have for the audience, noting that 90% of you are women, right? And I would reckon and estimate that 95% of you are non-technical, right? So you are mainly women, mainly non-technical. I would think that's the case. And now the question here is, my question to you, or at least on behalf of some or not or all of them, is that how can you be a transformative leader adopting AI, right? So that's where the experiences from the esteemed panelists would be very relevant, as I've taken notes also. So framing the discussion into that for a moment, at least from my part, in order for me to understand and for panelists to share, is that how can women be transformative leaders in the world, in the era of AI? That's the question, right? So how can we be transformative leaders, right, in the era of AI? So I mentioned earlier about the importance of SROI, social return on investment. For you to be involved in anything transformative or transformational, you got to measure not just the ROI, not just the business profit side, but the S component, right? The social component. So S in this case is part of the ESG, environmental social governance. So these are the three ESG components that members, panelists have actually shared their experiences. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what can we involve in, whether E, S or G? How can we be involved in? What do we need to fill up the gaps to be transformative leaders, right? To be effectively driving ESG goals, ESG projects, like the way the panelists have been involved in. So it's not so much about us being transformative leaders, but how can you multiply, right, the numbers of transformative leaders as women? Okay, so to me, for you to fill up the gap, we must self-assess ourselves, right? The three capitals. How much social capital do we have? How much intellectual capital we have? The skill set that members have shared. This is on security, this is on the governance, this is on donation measurement drive, this is on supply chain, So how much do we know that? The intellectual capital, how much skill set do we know? How much knowledge do we have? So if we have gaps in that, get help, right? Get mentors to help you. So this is where the social capital comes in. It exposes you to all these networking events that the organizers organize, right? Get to know mentors, get to know people, get to know technical people, non-technical people, right? To fill up the gaps through this networking exercise. So social capital kicks in after you knowing that there are gaps in intellectual capital, right? Your problem-solving skills, your technical skills, your AI skills. Some of the panelists earlier, some of the speakers earlier talk about the kind of generative AI technologies that are readily available. So where are you with that, right? Where are you in using that to tackle the ESG goals, for example? So because by doing that, you become transformational, you become transformative leaders as a result. You can set up your own startup, you can be an intrapreneur within your organization, within your employer, right? Then the last capital is, of course, financial capital. Are there sufficient grants? Are there investors? Are there angels? Are you part of a network that basically invests in social impact projects? What you call philanthropic or impact investing projects, right? So when you have an ecosystem like that, plus the social network, plus the intellectual capital capabilities, right? Then you can become a transformative leaders. Learning from the experiences from the other panelists who cited all the projects that they've done. You need to get there. You need to have that gap addressed quickly to become transformative leaders and in the era of AI, right? So that's my 2 cents worth on it. Relating back to the topic that I find very, very important and very significant. I have a vested interest. I have 2 young daughters. I would like to see them succeed, but not through tokenization. Tokenism, sorry. Tokenization is all blockchain and digital stuff, right? Tokenism. I don't believe in that. I'm a minority from a meritocracy, right? So this is the same thing. The values that I advocate to all women who may feel that they are being discriminated or cast aside, there's a way to overcome all that. And these are the principles or the actual things that are being designed, deployed to make anyone successful, regardless of gender, nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That was worth way more than 2 cents. What has come out to me in this conversation is that to be able to look at AI both from the perspective of what do we feel like AI is doing to us, what are we going to be on the receiving end, to the example you were mentioning, Marina, the bank, and the evaluations of your ratings for credit, for example. And this is even small businesses. And I'm going to take a step backwards and think of what has been the evolution in some of the business spaces before AI, where you used to have in smaller towns, smaller relationships. You'd have a relationship with your bank manager. They knew you were asking for money for a small development. You couldn't necessarily quantify the return, but they knew you were, they knew who you were, they knew your work ethic, and they would make a decision and you would get a loan. And probably over the last 15, 20 years, depending on the country, banks have taken that authority away from the local bank managers. It's now a formula, and how much do you have in credit? We're only going to give you this much. It's math, and that's all you get. And I think some of our manual processes have become so impersonal that we've limited the opportunity. And with AI, are we going to be able to take a more personal, broader view and enhance the opportunity so more women will be unbiased and get more opportunity for things like small business loans? Or do we feel like it's going to get worse? And I think it's going to be a matter of time before we see that. And then the other flip side to this discussion has been, what can we do, or what can as individuals do? How do we harness AI to our own benefit to be building the small or big businesses that we all have in our respective marketplaces, and how do we bring it forward to the future? So from my perspective, it's been a fascinating discussion. I think we've all learned a lot. I think we have a couple of minutes, because I don't see the signs yelling at me to cut it off. So I would like to open it up for questions, because I think it's a fascinating opportunity.
Yes, thank you very much for that insightful discussion, Diane. And we are opening the floor for the question and answer session. Yes. There you go, the first question.
Hello, my name is Iris Silva. I'm from Rwanda, and I was a keynote speaker yesterday. I want to start by stating first that I'm an AI user. I believe in it, and I believe in the future of it. But I also wonder why there's so many seats at the table and always one woman sit at this table. And I have a theory. I really think that women are assertive and that we ask thought-provoking questions that sometimes men might not be comfortable to discuss about. And it's almost like, look, we're gonna go. If you're happy to join the train, come on board. If not, you'll catch us later. So my question, first of all, is to talk about security and the framework that surrounds ethical and protection, especially of vulnerable people. When we're considering that AI might interpret our emotions from user voices, facial expressions, text, and everything, we see that it can potentially be used by hackers, and this has actually been the case, where now parents were asked not to put on social media our kids because potentially people can use their voices and, do whatever they want. So I want you to tackle a little bit that topic, especially how does Center of AI Innovation prevent misuse while also allowing AI to enhance human interaction. So if you could touch on that point so that we can really talk about security of this AI, because I believe that every time something is not as clear, we tend not to want to jump on it. And I think if we had more clarity on, hey, these are the benefits, but these are also the potential risks that are associated, and this is how we are preventing. I think that would allow as many women to as well jump on the idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm not really sure who wants to tackle that one first. Nasri, Reeve? I'm thinking the personal side. Reeve?
Sure. That's an extremely challenging question. I think the ethics behind it is also making sure that AI helps, especially those who need it most. Fundamentally, I think that we could go down the road of regulation, which is a lot of society and community, and that's what regulation is for, to make sure that whatever we have is used for good, and that it cannot be abused. There will be people who will always try to abuse it, but we try to use regulation as best as possible. But the cost of regulation is innovation, and we've seen that as well. So I think the silver bullet is, it's an annoying answer because I know it's not possible. But in the end of the day, it just requires greater self-awareness and greater critical thinking. So it is a skill that we want humans to be able to have, develop, and increase in all populations. Because the person who has those skills will know how to use AI well. The person who doesn't have those skills will use it badly. Right? And we don't want, and so yes, again, it's the silver bullet education. If we can promote the education of all and use AI to make that a lot less frictionful, I think that's where we want to go with it. But yes, I struggle with that question.
Yeah, I'll
add to that.
Yeah. So I think what are the skills that are going away, becoming obsolete? So we had a view, and to confirm which jobs are going away, even in the aerospace sector, a lot of the lab testings that's being done manually are being replaced by sensors as well as automation as well. So there are jobs that are slowly being removed. So we do see these transformation happening. Now, in relation to this, what we're also seeing is a lot of the conventional jobs are actually losing talent. People are no longer wanting to be farmers. We're having food security. There are actually challenges on getting blue-collar workers as well. So these are actually the critical dynamics that is not going away. But what happened is, with food security as well as technology, we definitely see a lot of the agri-tech coming up. We see a lot of transformation in terms of optimization, how food is actually being produced. Interestingly, a lot of these solutionings are also enabling optimization. So when we have a deep dive discussion in the poultry sectors, in the aerospace sectors on talent and development, these people who are in those jobs, they don't suddenly disappear or go out of job. They are being reskilled and retrained, and their valuable knowledge, they becomes the supervisor and advisor to the new generation. So these are things where it actually does benefit a lot of, I would say, women, because women in the past, given the natural childbirth process, it's hard for them to be in the blue collar or be a very time-bound skills provider. But with all this enablement, I do see more and more, a lot of the women leaders are taking the next generation. So while this is very much, if you see an observation, a lot of the leaders are still, the gender equality is still not at optimum. But have a look at change and transformation. So I think we are heading to the right direction to give that equal opportunity. And echoing to what all the speakers have mentioned, I think with this dynamics, the transformation will come, and I'm very excited to see how the next generation, and we may be the generation that see the women taking more C-suite roles in the next 5 years.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm getting signals we're now at break time, so I want to thank everybody. I can see from the nature of the questions that everybody wants to continue this conversation much further down the road. So it is now going to be break time, I believe. So everyone's here, please continue the conversation. What I do hope, and based on this conversation, the next time, well, 5 years down the road, when this panel discussion is held again, you missed the very beginning, it will not be us 2 women and 3 guys sitting here. It's going to be a team of women telling you where AI is going.
Certainly.
So thank you.
Thank you very much, the moderator, as well as the panelists. Kindly remain on stage. And to those who have posted questions on the pigeonhole, you may actually meet the panelists in person during the break, maybe, network with them, and get those questions answered. Right. To present the memento to the moderator as well as the panelists, I would like to invite Dr. Shanti Raj to the stage. With a big round of applause. For the group photo as well. A group photo. Once again, thank you very much to Ms. Diane Duckworth, the moderator, and all the panelists, Ms. Arena Koth, Malaysia, Mr. M. Nazri Muhammad of Singapore, Mr. Barney Kumar of India, Mr. Tarif Jafri of Thailand, and yes, thank you very much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are all aware that we are going to go for a short tea break. It has been an interesting morning session. Enjoy the refreshments as well as the tea and coffee, and I'll see you right back here in a few minutes. Thank you. As we are running out of time, I would request you to kindly take your seats and you may continue later at the second break. Thank you. Alright, dear participants, the delegates, international delegates, a quick announcement for you. As I've mentioned in the morning, for the complimentary city tour, you need to register by 12 noon, but we have extended. You may continue to register until 5 p.m. today. So kindly head to the Best Tour Malaysia help desk, just at the foyer area, and get yourself registered. And you have complimentary city tour tomorrow in the morning. So you can still register until 5 p.m. this evening. Thank you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you managed to get your refreshments and tea, coffee, at least into the hall so that you can enjoy while listening to our next keynote speaker. And to speak a little about the next keynote speaker, she is Professor T.S. Dr. Shanti Farida binti Saleh. Has served as a lecturer at University Malaysia Sarawak for more than 16 years. She's a graduate from Loughborough University, the United Kingdom, from which she has an engineering degree in chemical engineering and master degree in advanced process engineering. She obtained her PhD in chemical engineering, focusing on biomass conversion from agricultural waste from University Putra Malaysia since 2000. She has had a long and successful career in University Malaysia Sarawak, working in different strategic areas, including Faculty of Engineering, Academic Development and Management Division, and Center of Academic Quality Assurance and Curriculum Development. She is currently a Chartered Energy Engineer of Institute of Energy under Engineering Council of UK. On professional recognition, Associate Professor Dr. Shanti Farida is Certified Auditor, RSPO, Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil, Certified Environmental Lead Auditor, ISO 14001, and Registered EIA Consultant for NREB. She was involved in various module developments for TVET, Sime Darby, and Palm Oil Refinery Association Malaysia. In terms of consultancy work, she has served few projects with Sarawak Energy Berhad, XFAB Sarawak Berhad, Urata Malaysia Sendirian Berhad. Ladies and gentlemen, with a big round of applause, I invite the Director of the Institute of Sustainable and Renewable Energy, ISHWAR, at University Malaysia Sarawak, UNIMAS, Professor Diaz, Dr. Shanti Farida Binti Saleh to the stage to share with her a presentation on environment, sustainability and governance, ESG, for a better future. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Right, thank you, the MC of today, all the VIPs, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor indeed to be on stage, to share something that is, I think, the buzzword of people when they meet in most of the seminars, conferences, or even talking about the training is on ESG. So apparently there are 5 popular or most talked about alphabets nowadays, which is A, I, E, S, and G. So today, for the first half of the keynote sessions, I think it's been dedicated to talk about this ESG context. So my name is Shanti. This is a little bit. I'm an academician as well as practitioner, chemical engineer, and also the recent one I've been involved as a certified FAS ESG analyst, which brings me to the topics that I want to be talking today with everyone in this room. Next. Right. So the first keynote speaker this morning, Christine, was asking a very interesting question whether we are afraid of AI or not. So if I were to ask the same questions to everyone in front of me this morning, are you afraid of ESG? No, right? Because ESG is something that we feel like, okay, we know about it, we heard about it, but I think the most appropriate question to ask when it comes to ESG is not whether you're afraid of it, but do you believe in it, right? So those are the context of the keynote that I try to share with everyone, every audience in this room today. And only have 15 minutes to do that. Next, can you just, make sure that everything is on the slide, okay. So for those who are new with ESG, E stands for environment, S stands for social, G stands for governance. As simple as that. And there's nothing new about this ESG. And if we go a little bit deeper, well, we can summarize E component as environmental stewardship. Anything that we do that relates to the environmental per se. S, I think Christine has talked a lot about S, even the panel discussed about the S, about the social responsibility, about the social value, about the DEI, yeah? So this is the part of the social responsibility, and governance is very much about how do we run our business, corporate governance. So this is something that is not that difficult to digest. Next. So me and my team have been doing a lot of ESG related, such as trainings, town halls, panels, focus group discussion, you name it. Not just to one organization, but we work with Bursa, we work with community, we work with SME, we work with local authorities, we work with public sectors, we work with academics, trying to understand the ESG implementation and the way forward. So one interesting observation that I can conclude from that, which is not very technical, is selling the idea of ESG is like selling the idea of gym membership. Everybody knows that it's good for your body, but not that many of us are willing to go and sign ourselves up for that, for many reasons. So, the topic of my ESG keynote today, ESG for a beautiful future. I think perhaps the best way to say it is by putting the question mark at the end, ESG for a better future. Because as much as we believe in ESG, it's like how we believe in, going to have a routine exercise is good for your health. Not that many people want to go and embark on the journey. So this is a very typical buy-in, anywhere that you go around the world, you heard about this. 3 things that people will always talk about ESG, which is a little bit different from the sustainability reporting itself. ESG is very much talking about the values, why we are doing it. And this is where a lot of organizations stuck. Because as much as they understand what they're doing, as much as understand what they're selling, sometimes the conversation or discussion about the value is not that open enough. We know that ESG is a C-suite or is a boardroom kind of top-down approach, but again, how much of us or how many of us are willing to talk about this openly and agree on a certain value? Because value is very unique. What's important to me might not be important to someone else. So it's not like a fixed currency that we have. So somebody talk about the return of value, which is very difficult to define if we compare to return of investment, because dollar and cents is quite fixed in that sense. We also understand that ESG is about people, planet, and profit. But again, how much, what is our commitment toward the people, toward the planet, and toward the profit? We are talking from the different sectors, for example, the mining sectors, the services sectors, and then the interpretation of the value and the purpose will be very, very different. And last but not least is something that really differentiates ESG from any typical sustainability reporting is the metrics and the measurement. What get measured, get managed. We have seen a lot of sustainability reporting, we have seen a lot of people try to show or demonstrate their sustainability by talking about what they have done in a very superficial way. But they forget that the ESG, if you want to embark on this journey, you are talking about something that you can measure. Therefore, the metrics and indicators are very important. Next. Next. Just show everything. All right, okay. So, if you look at all these lists, I think most of us know about, the importance of the ESG. Next. I think there are one more. Okay. These are very typical. I mean, if you go anywhere, even if you look at the journal, you look at the reporting by the big firms, these are a typical components of ESG transformation in any organization. We are talking about leading by example, we are talking about giving or trying to showcase the lasting impacts, strengthening stakeholders' trust, driving innovation, so on and so forth. In our university, University Malaysia Sarawak, who has been to Sarawak, who has not been to Sarawak, you're welcome to come to our university. We have started our ESG journey 2 years ago, where we published our first ESG reporting back in 2023. So, after the first report published, we found out that most of the things that on the screen here is very true. One example is on the driving innovation. We found out that there are many things that we have to do. For example, relating to our topic this morning on AI, at the moment we are trying to find ways to better interpret the data that we have collected. Because when you try to collect the data from so many offices on the E component, S component, and G components, the interpretation is different. And the way they analyze data is also different. So this is something perhaps if we can have something that, an innovation that can help us to do this in a more easier way and a more meaningful way, will be very useful. Next. Next. Right. So, when we talk to a lot of stakeholders, we talk to public sectors, we talk to business entities, especially small, medium enterprise. They are talking about these two things, measurement and communication. Because ESG is like a report card that you carry, where you have to go through a certain assessment to know where you are. So this is something that is not easy to be done. You know, those who have done it knows the challenges that you are facing. So if you talk about these two components, measurement and communication, this is where a lot of people are not ready with this due to many reasons. For example, they don't have the expertise, the data is not there to be collected, the supports, the financials, so on and so forth. So when it comes to the measurement part, the component of E, S, and G has different challenges. E, for example, environment, something that is considered new. We don't just simply say that, you know, we involve in a tree planting, but rather that you have to quantify the amount of the tree planted, how much the carbon that can involve, and how it can be integrated into your carbon management plan, so on and so forth. So this is the challenge with the E component when you talk about the measurement. Social aspect, on the other hand, it is more established compared to the environment. How to quantify the data from the social components is still a challenge, because you cannot measure just how much you measure the carbon emission, or how much you measure the waste that you throw, or the waste that you recycle, so on and so forth. And governance also has something that perhaps one of the challenges is to define what is a good governance. Because even though we have a standard of reporting, but again, the metrics of a good governance is still, people are still debating about it, and values is different across the sectors. Communication, on the other hand, there are so many framework that we heard, you know, and this is also another challenges. If you talk to the people on the ground, like they are saying, okay, which one should I follow? Should I follow the Bursa? Should I follow the GRI? Should I follow the TCFD? So many ways of communicating their ESG implementation can hinder their journey on the ESG itself. So these are the two components that if people ask me, they have to be ready with these two before they can embark the journey on the ESG. Next. Right, to talk about the overall or holistic framework of the ESG implementation itself, it is nothing different from those who have done their management system. You know, it's always about the PDCA elements inside, where you have to know what drives you to do your ESG. Has you established any commitments? What are the objectives? What are the goals? What are the strategies in place? And how do you plan to do it? So if you look at the overall organizing framework, from setting the goal to the execution of ESG, it's very similar to any management system that any organization is implemented. Next. Right. Having said that, once you embark yourself on that journey, then you find out that it's not as simple as FSC previously, right? It's not just a simple PDCA. Because ESG is also about transparency. You have to be transparent in your impacts. You have to be transparent in your data and figures and numbers. So the transparency is just the beginning of ESG journey. What comes next is the transformation. Because once you disclose where you are, once you share your baseline with the public, now what's next? The next thing that people will ask you is, how do you transform from A to B? So if you look at the framework of the transformation itself, it's a bit more complicated than executing the journey, but again, this is something that perhaps, you know, what scares people, what makes people afraid of ESG when they are already in the journey itself. Next. So, talking about the impact, we are talking about the transformation and the transparency. Understanding the impact is also another component that people are struggling with. Measuring your environmental commitment, measuring your social commitment, measuring your governance commitment and responsibility has this whole of the impacts on metrics. This is a very well established impact. If any of you are familiar with the B impact assessment, we have few consultancy with SME where we use this to assess their readiness on their ESG journey. And I can tell you the average times that we have to deal with the company, especially SME, is more than 6 months just to assess their readiness. The main reason being is that it's just that perhaps they are not familiar with the measurement of the indicators, the data that they don't have, or even the understanding of the ESG itself makes the journey itself a bit struggling. So this is something that people have to be very familiar with in terms of the ESG journey and the context. And if you look at this impact, this is when we can relate back to the title of our keynote, ESG for a better future, because once we are doing our business day in and day out, even as a university, these sort of questions that we have to ask ourselves to know where we are and what have to be improved to be a better organization or to serve our clients better. Next. Right, as I mentioned earlier, some people, they have all the formulas ready, all the data ready. Now, the next question is that, how do I report? Because ESG is about using, the right framework or the right standard for you to report your ESG. So, again, finding the right chemistry for sustainability reporting or for ESG reporting is not an easy thing to do. I would say perhaps it's like, you're asking a question, to whom should I marry to? Okay, it's like finding the partner in marriage. Sometimes it works, sometimes you get divorced. So it's very similar to the sustainability reporting itself. But for a start, perhaps, for example, UNIMAS, which is GRI as our starting point, because more or less it's a bit flexible and also can suit for general or across the sector's requirement. So this is also another thing that when it comes to ESG, people are struggling with finding the right framework to be used for the organization. Next. Right. Sharing a few things where I'm coming from. I'm from Sarawak, and as you know, Sarawak is going very drastically into the green economy, and on the 9th of September, our Premier has launched the annual sustainability reporting for green initiatives for the public sectors. So what it means is that by next year, all the public sectors in Sarawak has to come out with their own sustainability reporting. And it's nothing new, because at national level also we already have our national sustainability reporting frameworks, just launched recently. I think it's on the 24th September, if I'm not mistaken. So this is something that perhaps can be a starting point for any organization or any sectors that want to embark on the sustainability reporting journey or ESG. Next. Trying to relate that to what is happening in Sarawak at the moment, as I said, one of the struggles in doing the ESG is to find your alignment, to find your values, to find your end goals. So, at the end of the day, you have to relate yourself to what's close or what's in your surrounding. So, from Sarawak context, this sustainability blueprint was launched last week, still very new, with the 10 strategic trusts and so many action plans, as you can see. But nevertheless, this can be a good starting point or the alignment of any organization in Sarawak, particularly who wants to embark on the ESG journey. Next. Talking about the sustainability reporting from Sarawak point of view, they are using the public reporting as a data-driven sustainability, where the main thing that they want to focus in is trying to use that for a means of transparency and accountability to encourage informed decision making, and as well as to benchmark one's progress to the others. And the main areas that we'll be tracking under the Sarawak Green Transition Plan is very much on the energy efficiency, carbon footprint reduction, and sustainable resource management. And Sarawak is the first state in Malaysia that has made it compulsory for the climate reporting, GHG especially, for the energy-related sectors and oil and gas. Next. Right. I come from higher education sectors. Next. Next. Okay. So the ESG journey, if you talk about, if you talk from the higher education point of view, is nothing new because I believe in most universities in the world, they already have the sustainability office or sustainability center part in the university. So a lot of ESG or sustainability journey started from that center or office. Yeah. So if you talk from the, if we look at the higher education point of view, the ESG components can be divided into these 4 areas. And this is something that we reported in one of the journal as looking at the China as a case study from the environmental point of view, from the social governance, plus education. So this is where the ESG journey for university is a bit different from the others. Next. And then I'll go to this one very quickly. Next. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we started our ESG journey back in 2023 using this as our neutrality. Next. Next. The focus of our ESG journey in UNIMAS, University of Malaysia Sarawak. Next. Like I said, it is not just a presenting fact, but also a narration of the storytelling of our commitment. This is the example of the report. I think we already shared it in our public domain, the report. And this is the strategy that why we want to move forward. Like I mentioned, ESG is not a one-off effort, it's a continuous effort to improve the organization. So, is ESG for a better future? Knowing and doing what really makes the difference in the ESG implementation. And last but not least, this is the slides. One of the things that perhaps we can think about, and discuss among ourselves, will ESG journey in the future can only be afforded by those have the means to do it. So we are so used to the term of digital divide, but if the ESG implementation is not done at every level or we say nationwide, we are going to perhaps face another divide, which is ESG divide, which means that only those who can afford can really embark on the ESG journey. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you for that informative insights, TS Dr. Shanti Farida. Kindly remain on stage. And to present a momentous gesture of appreciation, I would like to invite Puan Nurhasmalia Muhammad to the stage with a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, we are privileged to hear from the next inspiring keynote speaker, Ms. Amanah Abu Bakar. Allow me to read about her impressive profile before I invite her to the stage. Ms. Amana Abu Bakr is the Chief Sustainability Officer of AIM Bank Group. She leads the development and integration of group-wide sustainability and climate risk strategy for the bank, enabling sustainable finance and responsible banking. She's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants and holds the Advanced Certificate in Integrated Sustainability for a future-ready business from the Singapore Management University, SMU. She has worked with KPMG and Citigroup previously. Once again, with a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Ms. Amana Abu Bakr to the stage for a presentation on transformative leadership for sustainable business in the banking and financial sectors, titling Embracing Sustainability and Building a Resilient Future.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, distinguished guests, esteemed fellow speakers and leaders, good morning. It is truly an honor to be here today, speaking at such an esteemed gathering. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizers of this remarkable event, the Women in Management Malaysia chapter, for inviting me to join you all this morning. This platform, which celebrates the achievements of women across industries, is not only inspiring, but vital in fostering the kind of inclusive and diverse leadership our world so urgently needs. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So the Women in Management movement, as you all know, with its roots in Sri Lanka, where I was born, right, and now spanning the globe, stands as a powerful testament to the impact we can make when we empower women to lead, innovate, and drive change. Your mission of inclusivity, equality, and diversity resonates deeply with me, especially in the context of sustainability, which lies at the heart of my work at AMBAC. Today, as we focused on the topic, transformative leadership for sustainable business in the banking and financial services sector, embracing sustainability and building a resilient future. We recognize that sustainability is no longer just a goal, it is an imperative. In a rapidly changing world, we must embrace leadership that not only ensures business resilience, but also contributes to a more sustainable, equitable, and prosperous future for all. I look forward to sharing insights with you. So let us continue to push the boundaries of what is possible as we lead with purpose, drive sustainable growth, and empower the next generation of women leaders. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you and discuss a very important strategic component of leadership today, and that is being sustainable, building long-term value, to continue operating for decades to come as members of the real economy and as financial institutions. We are at a pivotal time frame where we can and must lead change. There is a need to revisit the fundamentals of business given the climate calamities that we are experiencing around us. What are they? Floods, so prone in Malaysia, right? Social economic systems worldwide are fundamentally changing, and community impact is a key area of concern as a shared responsibility. There is a need to strike a balance between transitioning to a lower carbon economy and nation building in our countries. There is a need for just transition. Next slide, please. Thank you. So today, let's talk about the evolving role of financial institutions, which I've spent the best part of my life, right? Broadly, these can be categorized into 5 areas, which I'll go through shortly. First, capital allocation and investment. Financial institutions are expected to play a more active role in supporting the transition of the economy and mobilizing capital. not only for those in need that we must help as a nation, but also through funding direct investment by the real economy players in sustainable projects and companies. Banks need to develop ESG-focused or sustainable financial products. On the loan side, products such as sustainability-linked loans, green mortgages, hire purchase structures for electric mobility, and on the asset management end, manufacturing green or sustainable funds for investment by institutional and retail investors as they shift their investment appetites. Second, market development. We support the growth of sustainable finance markets, facilitate green, social, or transition bond issuances and trading, and carbon credit trading platforms for nature-based projects. Third, we must ensure financial stability as we support these initiatives by having strong risk management capabilities. Some of these actions include integrating ESG factors as part of our credit risk assessment methodology to determine if projects are bankable, ensuring that they do no or limited harm to the environment. Assessing climate-related financial risks, both transition risk and physical risk for our portfolio assets. Stress testing for environmental risks such as extreme rainfall, floods, typhoons, earthquakes, etc., to determine what potential losses might need to be taken and work with our customers to mitigate these risks. Fourth, stakeholder engagement. And the previous speaker before me spoke a lot about that, right? Engage with our customers to improve and impress upon their sustainability practices. Determine if they have a plan to decarbonize, following the science that is available, and move to net zero in line with country commitments. So in Malaysia is committed to net zero by 2050. See how we can assist them to transition by providing financing support. There are the opportunities for financial institutions. Levers available to us in order to push the agenda includes offering a carrot and stick approach to encourage sustainability practices through pricing and conditions to be met as customers' journey matures. Okay, what do I mean by that? I mean, we can use pricing as a lever to encourage somebody to move in the direction of becoming more sustainable by either giving a discount on our interest rates or by penalizing them by asking them to pay more if they do not meet certain conditions, right? Engage with investors to explain our success and challenges and determine what their thoughts and expectations are so that we may be able to respond. And why do we need to do that? Because banks in general are listed entities, right? If I take a look at what the previous speaker showed, she showed a list of frameworks, CDP, the Integrated Reporting Framework, TCFD, GRI, etc., right? So that's what investors are looking for in terms of listed companies being able to be transparent and reporting their efforts using those frameworks as a basis, right? Most importantly for us, because we're a bank, right? The regulators. So we have two regulators, Bank Negara Malaysia, which is the Central Bank of Malaysia, and the Securities Commission of Malaysia, which governs the capital markets, yeah? So we need to be able to collaborate with them to facilitate acting as the country's enablers to support decarbonization and move to net zero. Government organizations, NGOs, ministries, industry working groups, we as a banking group, we provide feedback and take the opportunity to shape and influence thinking. For example, effective taxation policies to encourage businesses to engage fully in the energy transition. Carbon tax is an example of a policy initiative to move the needle, which was recently announced in the budget of 2025, just a couple of weeks ago in Malaysia. So carbon tax in specific industries become mandatory from 2026 onwards, okay? And finally, reporting on transparency. Report impact, success, progress, and not forgetting the challenges. Taking into account the various frameworks and regulations which are ever evolving in our space currently. So the previous speakers talked about NSRF. That's the National Sustainability Reporting Framework. That is a progression from TCFD, the last column she had on her slide. It includes a new reporting framework known as the ISSE standards, International Sustainability Reporting Standards. There's an S1 component and an S2 component, and those relate to sustainability practices as well as climate-related practices, okay? Therefore, the reporting that we have to do, what does it do? It builds trust with our stakeholders by taking them through the financial institution's response to material matters that they are interested in. Further, taking accountability by having senior management have sustainability targets as part of their performance indicators. So all our C-suites have a sustainability ESG component in our KPIs, which range between 5 to 10%, right? Mine is even more because I'm the CSO, right? As such, weaving sustainability into strategy and operationalizing it is truly transformative, the title of my keynote today. So having now explained these areas, I would like to articulate how we have approached them at my bank. Can we go to the next slide, please? Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So at AmBank, sustainability is one of the 3 core enterprise strategy pillars of our 5-year plan. Winning Together 29, or WT29, which we just announced in June this year. We have committed to net zero by 2050. So what does that mean? That means we are aligned to the country's commitment, and we hope to take our customers together with us on that journey to meet net zero by 2050. One key area that we diligently review continuously is to ask the question, what are the most important matters to our stakeholders? What are our material matters? What factors are they looking at? What are they? And how do we as a financial institution respond to them, right? For us, we have 3 themes. If you see in the middle of the slide, responsible banking, conscious self-conduct, and supporting communities. So given time limitations today, I will only speak about the first and the third, okay? So on responsible banking, as the global community pushes towards a sustainable future, we realize that financial institutions play a crucial role in driving equitable growth and climate actions. At AmBank, we are committed to the common UN Sustainable Development Goals. We support 10 of the 17. That's what you see in the middle of the slide. We incorporate ESG principles into our financing decisions. This helps mitigate risks, allow us to leverage on opportunities, and unlock future growth, right? Thus creating an ecosystem where everyone thrives. However, we are navigating this transition responsibly. A rapid shift could disrupt economic stability and livelihoods. Therefore, we adopt a more pragmatic approach to sustainability financing and supporting our customers, especially in climate action. As we work towards the net zero goal of 2050, we balance ESG objectives with the economic realities faced by the country. So Malaysia has launched last year the National Energy Transition Roadmap, or NETR in short. We were very encouraged, as this represents a significant opportunity for us as a financial institutions to play a role towards net zero, right? While Malaysia contributes to only 0.8% of global greenhouse gas emissions, 67% of that 0.8% comes from fossil fuels. Why? Because we are an oil and gas nation. Okay? The NETR provides a trajectory for us to move towards renewable energy, right? Steer away from energy systems that are conventional, fossil fuel based, and towards cleaner, more sustainable alternatives. The plan outlines a gradual increase in renewable energy share, targeting 40% by 2030 and 70% by 2050, using 6 levers, namely renewable energy, hydrogen, bioenergy, green mobility, carbon capture, utilization and storage, or CCUS, and lastly, energy efficiency. As such, there is a substantial investment to be made in infrastructure and technology, collaboration with partners, not only internally within Malaysia, but regionally with our neighbors in the ASEAN. This will certainly lead to numerous benefits for the economy, with green job creation, GDP upliftment, as well as elevation of technical capabilities for Malaysia. At AmBank, we are working very closely with the industry, understanding their business and transition plans, their involvement with the NETR, and thinking through opportunities with them, and solutioning financing options to facilitate moving the needle in line with Malaysia's aspirations of net zero by 2050. We have participated in large-scale financing capital market transactions through sustainable Islamic medium-term note programs and sukuk programs. We also are a key participant in Bank Negara Malaysia's financing facilities for SMEs, the Low Carbon Transition Fund, which includes utilization of blended finance in efforts of greening the value chain that will eventually allow large companies to report their financed emissions in 2027 per the National Sustainability Reporting Framework requirements that were released in September. So I just want to expand on this point. That when the previous speaker spoke, she was talking about the challenges and difficulties that SMEs actually face, right? And in reality, the decisioning is a couple of things. One, we are still trying to recover from COVID. Our focus is on profitability and cash flow. We do not have the knowledge in order to move towards sustainability and ESG, right? But the point of the matter is that if SMEs do not get on the journey, they're soon going to be uncompetitive in the economy. Okay? So there has to be that awareness built in order to tell them that they're going to be uncompetitive. The reason being is that if you are talking about the NSRF, the requirements are for listed companies by 2027 to report what is known as their financed emissions. What's a financed emissions means that they have to report their GHG from the supply chain. So if your SME is in the supply chain, supplying products or services for a listed company, you have to start giving this listed company the information on what your GHG output is and how you are reducing it. Because if you are not able to, then it's a very strong chance that that listed company is going to cut you out from that supply chain. Okay, so that is the lever that the government has actually put in place now. So basically everybody's got 2 years and a bit to get the act together. Okay, right. I know I have 2 minutes, but I think we started a bit late, so I'm just going to continue. Okay, right. Yeah, so we also offer green financing for initiatives providing environmental benefits such as GHG emission reduction and are now developing transition financing guidelines. We also have sustainability-linked loan financing available where interest rebates are tied to achievements of ambitious, predetermined sustainability performance targets. So earlier I was talking about carrot and stick. So basically, if I agree with my customer as a bank to say that if you do not meet, we agree today that this is the target that we're going to achieve in terms of your GHG or any other metric that is environmentally or socially beneficial to the organization. If you do not meet it, I'm going to increase your price. If you meet it, I give you a discount. So that's what a sustainability-linked loan is. Yeah? Right. MBank is also a key industry participant at the Joint Committee for Climate Change, JC3, spearheaded by Bank Negara Malaysia and the Securities Commission Malaysia. We participate in JC3's Risk Management Subcommittee, Governance and Disclosure Subcommittee, SME Focus Group, associated working groups with risk management, and recently the Climate Finance Innovation Lab. Okay? What that means is basically, as part of the development work that we're doing with the various participants in the industry as well as the regulators, we're trying to come up with products that will actually help our SMEs and other entrepreneurs, especially in the hard-to-abate sectors. Hard-to-abate means they're difficult to decarbonize them. All right? So that, because if currently projects today are totally, I wouldn't say totally, they're not bankable, right? Because we only would give loans to projects which have returns or which are going to succeed, right? If they don't have any elements of success, then it's very difficult for us to lend money to them, right? Why? Because we are the barometers of financial stability and basically hold up the economy, right? So if one bank goes down, there's a likelihood that everybody else will go down as well. We can't have that. There goes Malaysia, there goes the economy. And there goes the interest that external parties have trust in us. Yeah? Okay. So we acknowledge that our transition plan at MBank is as good as our transition plan of our customers. And therefore, we are extremely excited to support the NETR and Malaysia's efforts to align with the Paris Agreement. There is a challenge nonetheless, right? The science and the technologies are new, some untested. So that's where the bankability part comes in, which I spoke about a little earlier. Risk appetites will be focused on avenues that are bankable and cash flow generative. As such, much effort is needed from governments to support those policies and frameworks, provide incentives, private equity participation, blended finance structuring, and building on partnerships with our neighbors in the region. So Malaysia, as you know, takes chairmanship of ASEAN next year, and we are looking forward to building bridges, right, to save our planet and communities. So watch this space in the next 12 months, right? For that, however, fundamentally, a shift of mindset is needed. You need political will and action to change now, as opposed to postponing and taking a wait-and-see attitude. Yeah? Starting small on innovation and collaborative financing and focus on pragmatic opportunities is the way to go. Right? Start small. No need to talk big. No need to implement big, because you've got a probability of failure. Right? Start small. Right? That's the message. Can I go to the next slide, please? So, yeah, just give me 2 minutes. On communities, right, they hold a very strong place as a stakeholder for us in MBEC, right? So these are some of the things that we do. We believe that social empowerment and community engagement are crucial for creating an ecosystem where everyone thrives. Our dedication to community support aligns with our business objectives as a responsible and inclusive bank, reinforcing our role in driving sustainable growth and ensuring that our success is shared with all stakeholders in a meaningful manner. Some impactful products include those for the hungry and less fortunate in collaboration with the Lost Food Project, the Malaysia Cancer Society, and also the Association for the Blind. These initiatives were held during Chinese New Year, Hari Raya Deepavali. Next slide, please. Remembering these communities, ensuring that they too are not left out and we celebrate together. Okay? We also recognize the need to support the well-being of our colleagues and, previous one, thank you, workforce. As such, we have a daycare for M-bankers with young children and wellness rooms to be used by nursing mothers and anyone who needs to rest and have some quiet time. So, by any chance, have you noticed that the majority of chief sustainability officers are women? Why do you think that is? Right? Next slide, please. Some theories have indicated that women are often socialized to be more empathetic and collaborative. Traits that are invaluable in driving sustainability initiatives. CSOs need to work across departments, engage stakeholders, and build consensus for sustainable strategies. Women's natural inclination towards collaboration and empathy can foster stronger relationships within and outside the organization, leading to more effective sustainability outcomes. Sustainability is inherently about planning for the long term, considering environmental and social impact that extends beyond immediate financial gains. Studies have shown that women tend to have a longer-term outlook in decision-making, which aligns well with goals of sustainability. Thirdly, and lastly, we have a holistic approach to problem solving. So CSOs, it's a new job title and one that requires significant resilience and strength. I see it as a change management role that influences and shapes an organization's culture, aligning around a clear vision, mission, and action plan where the entire organization is pulled in the same direction in order to ensure long-term success and value creation is very important. Today is the 6th of November. When I read this at home, when I practiced at home, it took me 18 minutes, right? So I hope that's what it took today, right? To the most resilient lady I know, which is my mother, happy birthday to her. It's her birthday today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great conference and visit in Malaysia.
Thank you, Ms. Amana. Kindly remain on stage, please. Thank you for the detailed insights that you shared in your presentation. And now I would like to invite Ms. Rani Remal to the stage to present Ms. Amana with a token of appreciation. With a big round of applause, certainly. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thoroughly excited to welcome our next keynote speaker, Ms. Gauri Rajan from Sri Lanka, Director of Sun Match Company and the first female governor for Rotary in Sri Lanka and Maldives. Allow me to read an incredible profile. Ms. Gauri Rajan, based in Sri Lanka, is currently an executive director at Sun Match Company. Gauri Rajan brings experience from previous roles at Asoka Exports Private Limited and Sun and Asoka Group. Gauri Rajan holds a Master of Business Administration (MBA) at University of Peradeniya, with a robust skill set that includes executive coaching, brand development, marketing management, marketing strategy, leadership, and more. Gauri Rajan, an award-winning business professional, is the director of Sun Match Company based in Kundasali, Kandy, that is the market leader in the category of safety matches, and today it is diversified conglomerate. Ms. Gauri Rajan, a luminary in her own right, serves as the director of Sun Match Company, headquartered in Kundasali, Kandy. Renowned as the market leader in safety matches, Sun Match Company has evolved under Rajan's stewardship into a diversified conglomerate, earning her accolades as an award-winning business professional. Now join me as I welcome Ms. Gauri Rajan to the stage for her presentation on transformative leadership for social engagement.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, what an incredible gathering of individuals who I believe would make a positive change. Well, at the outset, let me congratulate the organizers for staging this event. And being here in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, I must say, is something special to me because even though I am from Sri Lanka, my mother is a Malaysian, and my grandfather, he was from Slim River near Ipoh. He served as a senator, dedicating his life to develop the community and the nation here. So it's truly meaningful for me to be here in Malaysia. So today I will be speaking to you on transformational leadership, but certainly not as a theory, but as a lived experience. How transformational leadership can be used as a powerful tool for social engagement, because it has shaped my journey and ignited my passion for social change. Certainly, transformational leadership goes beyond titles and positions, and it's all about unlocking your true potential and making one look beyond themselves. It's a deeply rooted philosophy based on the 3 P's, which are people, potential, and progress. So going to my journey, well, let me share a story from my own life. My father was a true visionary, an entrepreneur who introduced the first safety wax matches in Sri Lanka. And that brand, Surya, went on to become the #1 in its category. He built a successful business from the scratch. But as for me, my path was completely different to his. I wasn't particularly interested in joining business. I received my first degree in Bachelor's of Arts from India, and when I returned to Sri Lanka, I wanted to actually pursue my career as a lawyer. But for some reason, my dad saw something in me and ensured that he recruits me and that I work along with him. And I must say, even though I was not interested, since my dad called me, I did join him. But on the day 1, I was given just a desk and the air was warm because it was a non-air conditioned room, no privileges, no titles, and that's how I started. Like Tim Cook, from the CEO of Apple, said, he was prepared but he was not ready. But in my case, I was neither prepared nor was I ready, because my dad suddenly passed away at the age of 54, and here I was absolutely lost. And fortunately, I did have my dad's brother serving as a mentor for me, but then it was a male-dominated industry in the category of safety matches, and at that time it was also a #1 brand, and here I was. It was basically yesterday when the ambassador from Sri Lanka, Shani, she raised a question from the panel. If somebody who was from another background, probably who does not know the subject, if that person is recruited to a top seat, what would your advice be? And I remember the moderator, I think Puan Khadija Abdullah, her response was, well, do not set anyone up for a failure, but rather equip them. So talk about trial by fire. Here I was in a male-dominated industry, suddenly responsible for an important role. So basically, I had to sink or swim. But then I dove in head first, and I couldn't solely rely on my dad's legacy. I knew I had to basically improve my competence and understand what my weak areas were. And the subjects that I did was basically arts-related subjects, and here in business, I just didn't have the knowledge either as to how to not only run a business, but then how to retain that brand either. So I understood the value of humility, and that leadership was certainly not about titles or positions. So 2 things I did. One was I started getting my hands dirty. I started visiting, going to the market, trying to understand all our customers, met all the retailers, and I was trying to understand what were their expectations, because at the end of the day, they were the backbone of our business. And secondly, even though I was already having a degree, I knew this was completely a different subject altogether, so I started from the scratch studying management from the foundation, studied marketing, first the foundation certificate, then went on to become a professional certified marketer, and also got qualified as obtained my MBA eventually. And I'm still learning, because one thing I understand is your CPD is important, and more than anything you need to unlearn everything that you know, and you need to keep learning. And still I do keep learning, and I think that's what has made me agile, and also it has made me become more resilient. And as a result, our company, which had a matchbox as still the company leader, we have retailed, we have branched out, we have diversified, introduced more FMCG products, and also have gone into education sector and other elimination sector. So much so that even when the pandemic struck in Sri Lanka, when the companies, so many companies were shut down, well, we didn't collapse. We were so agile by then, and we were so resilient as a team. We even went on to launch a brand called Sun under the hygiene sector, because everybody was going into sanitizers and all that, hand washing, hand wash and etc. But here, we conducted a research, an extensive research, and came up with a new product altogether, which was a food-grade disinfectant that can be used on fruits and vegetables, and the only certified product from Sri Lanka. So that was just to say how we can charter our own path. And my learning from that is transformational leadership taught me that while legacy offers a foundation. A true leadership is about charting a new path, embracing change, and committing to lifelong learning. So that was as far as my professional journey is concerned. Now, going into my leadership journey in the social context, we did listen to the other deliberations earlier, where network was considered an important component for a leader. And whilst doing my MBA, I still recall my professor in entrepreneurship saying, generally, second or third generation entrepreneurs in family businesses, they, most of the time, crash. And it's very important that your network is strong. And network, when I say, I'm not referring to Facebook or exchange of your visiting cards, but network is something where each one would have 10 absolute strong links, who in turn will have another 10 strong links who would do anything for you. So basically, social networks, business networks, and strategic networks. So my experience in that, I gained a lot from an organization called Rotary, which is spread over 200 countries, who are into providing solutions in certain focus areas like environment, peace and conflict, basic literacy, and maternal and child health, and so on. And working there with, alongside other businessmen and professionals who are leaders, who are better leaders in their professions than me and who are more successful than I am. In fact, I learned a lot where I was able to also apply that in my business. And here in Rotary, I went on to become the first woman governor for both Sri Lanka and Maldives. And that basically gave me an experience where I know a leader had to be empathetic and the real essence of leadership. I understood that the real essence of leadership that's grounded in empathy, inclusivity, and commitment to social justice. And it's all about believing in people, giving them opportunities to grow, and fostering a culture where everyone feels valued and heard. So that was the experience that I got out of being a Rotary governor. And I can relate just to experiences as a leader in Rotary. In 2013, when I learned that 2,500 to 3,000 children are born every year with congenital heart disease who do not even live up to celebrate their first birthday in Sri Lanka. And the reason being that we do not have a human heart valve bank, but rather the practice in Sri Lanka is to use bovine grafts, which costs about $2,300 to about $2,500 per unit, which is absolutely beyond the average reach of a Sri Lankan household. So having said that, the Ministry of Health at that time did approach us asking whether Rotary could help in setting up this first ever human heart valve bank in Sri Lanka so that we could save these children. And since we did not have a cent in the kitty, not many were sure as to whether we could give a commitment like this, because it also meant there will be a lot of red tapes, as we will be also dealing a lot and working with the government. But then I was really moved by the fact that so many children are in need, and since it was an urgency, I did give a commitment together with our team, and I know one of our members is just here, Aisha over there, a member of the WIM. And many did not believe in that because they said not to do it, because setting up one for over $450,000 is not easy, and that also giving a commitment to the government of Sri Lanka is also not really good, because they had to pass the cabinet papers in order to set this up, just based on our word. But then I knew, even though we did not have a cent in the coffers, I believed in collaboration, I believed in the power of using connections, and I believed that if you do have a commitment and if you do have a vision, that surely you can make it happen. So we reached out to so many other potential donors. As I mentioned, that we do have partners in over 200 countries, and some of them whom we have not even seen, but then all of them getting together. In no time, we did set up the first ever human heart valve bank in Sri Lanka at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. And thanks to the power of networking, today those children born every year with congenital heart disease will have a lifetime. And I would say this was not just setting up a human heart valve bank, but it was all about network of hope. So having said that, that was something on a positive note. But let me share with you another experience where things didn't really go too well. It was around that time, according to the UN country report, the forest cover dropped down from 53% to 29% in Sri Lanka. And research also finds that there is a tree in everyone's life, meaning, just think about it. There will be a tree in your life. There will be some emotional connection to one tree in your life. Maybe in your childhood, maybe in your teenhood, maybe in your adulthood. And it was very true because I also thought there is no tree in my life. But then when I really pondered upon it, I realized, yes, when I got caught up in the tsunami in 2004, I just held on to the branch of a tree, and because of that tree only I survived. So like that, there will be a tree in everyone's life, and there's a link, an emotional link between a tree and a human. So based on this, we came up with this ambitious project to launch 1 million trees project in Sri Lanka. And at that time, I invited Miss Rolene Strauss from South Africa. She was the reigning Miss World. She came to Sri Lanka, and together with the Ministry of Tourism, we launched this project. And it was a very glamorous one. We started getting the funding and all that. But within a very short spell of time, what we found was that 90% of the trees died. So how would you handle a situation like that? Here's a project, and 90% of the trees have died, and what would you do? I was actually in crossroads, because the team was saying either we close the project, or we don't talk about it, or something we need to give a negative publicity. We pondered, and we came up with this. Finally, what we did was, we reached out to all the donors. We did say, look, the contribution that you did give, we planted the trees, but they are dead. We were very transparent about it. And as a result, because of our transparency, we did attract a blue chip company in Sri Lanka called the Hades, which is a Rainforest Alliance. And admiring our transparency and openness, they came on board as our strategic partner, and we replanted all the trees that were dead. And today, we created, along with their experience in agriculture, a model of resilience, and truly it has showcased the strength of our partnership. And I'm happy to say recently at the COP28, this project was also featured. So my message here is that in our leadership journey, especially in social engagement, it is deeply rooted in ethics and social responsibility. Because people cannot be fooled. People can see through superficial efforts. Henceforth, authenticity and honesty are not just admirable qualities, but they are essential for building trust. And let's not look far ahead, because talking about social engagement, this will be my last example that I'll be quoting. Let's just take at WIM, the Women in Management brand that was birthed from Sri Lanka. As you know, Sri Lanka has gone through has gone through a lot of disruption in the last so many years. But just imagine a brand from there. Now it has a membership over 26 countries coming under that brand. Yes, whether they are resilient, yes. Whether they are change makers, yes. And whether they believe in collaboration, yes. And the founder who is here, Dr. Sulechana Segera, if you had heard her speak yesterday, she said that if she doesn't know anything, she asks. So that is another very good quality what you require for a transformational leader. If you are wrong, accept it. If you do not know, just be humble enough. So I represent an organization called Rotary, which is spread over 200 countries, but now we are over 115 years. So WIM, which is just 15 years, have already got membership in 26 countries, and I'm sure all of us being here discussing about the transformational leadership will certainly have a far-reaching effect not only in our lives but also in the lives of those we serve. And I take this opportunity to also wish the women in management years of service, and may you continue to empower not only the women but also the men. Thank you.
Thank you. And kindly remain on stage, Ms. Gauri. Thank you for sharing that insights of yours with all of us. And to present the memento, I would like to invite Mr. Venugopal Kellapan, the Director of KBSR Consulting, to the stage. Thank you very much, Mr. Venugopal and Ms. Gauri. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving forward to the second panel session of the day, entitled The Future of ESG. To lead the session, I invite the moderator, Associate Professor T.S. Norazia Abdul Wahab, Malaysia, the Director at University Sustainability Center, University Malaysia, Sarawak, UNIMAS, along with all the panelists, starting off with Ms. Samantha Tai Chan of Malaysia, Tri Mumpuni of Indonesia, Mr. Cenduran Padmanathan of Singapore, Dr. Edwin Waro, Malaysia, T.S. Dr. Nur Saidatul Mazelan, Malaysia, and Ms. Sharifah Nur Kamsia Al-Idid binti Datuk Syed Ahmad Idid, Malaysia. Let's give a big round of applause to the panel session. Before we begin, allow me to read the incredible profile of the moderator. Norazia Abdul Wahab is an Associate Professor at Department of Chemical Engineering and Energy Sustainability, Faculty of Engineering, University Malaysia Sarawak, UNIMAS. She is also currently the Director for University Sustainability Center, USC, UNIMAS. Her area of specializations is in water and wastewater engineering, STEM education, renewable energy, microbial fuel cell, and she has also developed keen interest in sustainability leadership. She's actively involved in spearheading STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, education, sustainability development goals, SDG, and community transformation programs for the state of Sarawak and also at international level via Kara Network. She is recognized for her collaborative leadership style, proactive, approachable, and ability to effectively translate vision and mission of the university into tangible action priorities. A proven leader with a strong executive presence, passionate in the community development, effective communication skills, build trust, and achiever for center growth. With a big round of applause, once again, I hand over the stage to the moderator for the second panel.
Thank you very much, Ms. MC, for the wonderful introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a very challenging time for us and the panelists here to discuss about the future of ESG, knowing it's lunchtime. So please bear with us. You will be listening to a very wonderful and engaging discussion about the future of ESG. I'm Norazia. I will be moderating this session, and the first two keynote speakers earlier has set a very wonderful context of ESG. And here we are today, we are going to look into relating how this ESG into our organizations, and also discussing how every individuals, institutions, governments can contribute to the development of ESG. We are fortunate that we are going to explore the trajectory of ESG practices during this forum session. Let me introduce you the wonderful, exceptional panel of experts who are here with us today in bringing unique insights into ESG from various sectors. Allow me to introduce themselves briefly due to the time constraint. In Malaysia, we call it masa mencemburui kita, ya? Because the limit of time. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Samantha Chan from Malaysia. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Boardroom Malaysia and also Managing Director Asia for Corporate Secretarial. Big round of applause for Madam Samantha, please. We also have Madam Tri Mumpuni from Indonesia. Ya Bu, apa kabar Bu? Baik. She's the Executive Director of IBK, member of the Board of Governors of the Indonesian Research and Innovation Agency. Tepuk tangannya ya untuk Ibu. And we have Mr. Chandran. He asked us to call him Chen. Yeah. He's from Singapore, the Humanitarian Logistics, Infrastructure Development, ESG and Supply Chain Management, and also Data Analytics. We have Dr. Edwin Varro, who is also from Malaysia, the International Business and Leadership Consultant, Certified ESG Analyst. He's also Certified Sustainability Risk Manager, AI in People Management, and University of Pennsylvania. Big round of applause for the gentleman today. I read from the program book, if you observe, we have the largest number of panelists for our forum, and I'm glad there are 4 ladies here with us. Yeah? We have technologists. Next, technologist Dr. Nur Saidatul Mazlan from Malaysia. She's founder of MD of Think Plus Group of Companies, the Think Plus Consulting, Think Plus Academy, Sustainable Business Network Association, Malaysia. And last but not least, we have our lovely Madam Sharifah Nur Kamsiah Al-Idid, binti Datuk Sheikh Ahmad Idid from Malaysia, from Innovation and Nuclear Advocate. Very special, yeah? Woman in nuclear sectors. A former Special Officer to Science Advisor, Prime Minister Department. A big round of applause again for all the panelists that we have today. Right, let's start the discussion. So to start, let's look at the current role of ESG. The keynote speakers had set the context of what ESG, what are the framework, what are the reporting and so forth. ESG has gone from a compliance matter to a core business priority for many. So to start the discussion, Madam Samantha, could you share your thoughts on how ESG has transformed the way companies operate and make strategic decisions? Over to you.
Thanks, Professor. So this is really, really interesting. The Bursa listing requirement, our stock exchange, right,
has been amended since 2022, so it's already 3 years coming to, right? And when 2022 amendments first came out, many public listed companies were not sure, were not clear as to how they're going to do sustainability reporting in more detail as required, right? So what happened then is we have a lot of requests because for directors training, you know, so it's all more for compliance purposes, right? And I think yesterday the corporate governance monitor have been issued. About 97% companies have actually reported compliance, right? So we have passed through the stage 1. Now, come the more difficult part is the stage 2, which will be the December year end, financial year end December 2024 this year. And this is where actually the last 2 years, right, we brought in a software. And again, when we brought in the software, it's more to educate, create the awareness, right? How does all this data work, right? And how can you actually make leverage on this data? So that's on compliance, but interestingly, the last 2 years, where the challenges the business or the company face is, you know, like I think just now Amanda was saying, the banks will not give you loan. If you are not showing that you have good sustainable practices, we are not going to give you loan. And we have clients who, you know, some clients, they are still, how to say, maybe I don't say ignorant, but a bit naive in the sense, oh, it will not impact us, like private limited company, for example. But interestingly is we have having feedback more and more that they are saying, look, they are now in the supply chain. So they have to give their data for the public listed company to consolidate, right? And because of that, they are more and more precious in terms of adopting a sustainable practices, good sustainable practices, right? So with that now, the directors are now taking stock, right? When I say take stock means in the past, a lot of the companies, they form is a working group. It's not at the board committee level, but more of a working group, the management, they come together, finance, company secretary, right? But the last few months, you can see the shift. They are now shifting it not just merely at working group level, they have shifted to a board committee level, meaning to say they set it up a dedicated sustainability governance committee. Some have put it under the audit com or the risk com together with sustainability committee. So what it means? What it means is that the directors now are acknowledging that it is their fiduciary duty, all right? If you look at yesterday, there's another plantation public listed company. There's a lot of shareholder activism. During AGM, they are inquired as to how you implement. If we see certain report negative in terms of labor, for example, why? What is the company taking? So the fiduciary duty, the emphasis is more and more, and you probably have heard as well that some companies, not only you're not able to continue with some customers, vendors, right? But even being challenged in terms of penalty and fine, right? So because of all this, it has actually moved, but it's still in progress, right? From compliance to embedding into their business operations. And this is why we always, sometimes when we go to companies, right, what is your governance structure? And very often you can say, oh, we've only set up a few persons to look into this. Versus if you go to top 100 PLC, for example, you know, they take 6 months to a year involving everybody in the operation. And that is really looking at ways of how you have done your business. It's not just merely for compliance purposes, right? So this is a very exciting period for us because we handle about 300 public listed. So the board meeting deliberation, you can see the way they deliberate regarding ESG. In the past, it's probably like half an hour, 1 hour, right? But now they have more and more, not just formal, informal discussion as well, right? As to how you can actually do things differently. Your materials, your way of doing business has changed, right? Moving to renewable energy, for example. So that is very interesting to us when you see at the board level the deliberation from compliance moving into operational. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Samantha. I can't agree more with you because for Unima's experience, as mentioned by the keynote speaker earlier, we started our journey of sustainability and ESG since 2016. And only this year, we successfully convinced our university top management that the committee for the sustainability in Unimas must be chaired by one of our board members. So that has been taken by our board of directors. So one key takeaway from our first panel is to get the ESG not only from the working group of employees, but it must also go up until the board member, where the strategic decisions can be made for the organization. Having said that, let's move to the first E in that ESG element, that is on environment, where we look into environment often leads discussions. Particularly, we heard from the previous few keynote speakers talking about climate change, where it has been the forefront of global concern. And we are very honored today that we have Madam Sharifah, who are consultant in this nuclear power sector. Can you please share with us the relationship of nuclear power to ESG, spotlighting on perspective of the E element, which is referring to the environment? Over to you, Madam Sharifah.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Firstly, I would like to share the global updates on nuclear power. The International Atomic Energy Agency has reported that as of 3rd November 2024, there are 415 nuclear power reactors in operation in 31 countries, generating 373 gigawatts of electricity. And US has the highest number of reactors, which is 94, followed by China and France, each 56. And during the same period, there are now 63 nuclear power reactors under construction in 15 countries, with China having the largest, 29 under construction. Ladies and gentlemen, we understand that the ESG framework is of diverse origin, and previously nuclear power was not included in the possible use of proceeds, and in many cases, nuclear power has been excluded as a component because it's considered controversial. Very importantly, previously, nuclear was never given any prominence in global climate discussion, especially COP. However, COP28 in Dubai has ushered in a watershed moment for nuclear under two particular programs. One, the IAEA Director General was given a platform to deliver his landmark statement in which he stated that net zero needs nuclear. Secondly, 22 world leaders had signed a declaration that the world needs to triple the nuclear capacity from 2023 to 2025 in order for nuclear to be able to complement renewable energies in order to reach net zero. And the International Energy Agency boss had outlined what is the prescription for success for nuclear to contribute to net zero. One is to continue building the large reactors, which is 800 megawatts and above. Two is to extend the lifetime of the current fleet. And three, to invest in innovation, which is small modular reactors. And I'm happy to share that a recent study by the Center for ESG and Sustainability in partnership with the Columbia University, they had identified that nuclear power is a strong performer when analyzed against ESG standards and criteria. And why is this? One, nuclear power is low emission. Two, nuclear power contributes to climate change mitigation. The IAEA has reported that in these 5 decades, nuclear power has avoided 70 gigatons of carbon dioxide and avoided 1 gigaton of carbon dioxide per year during this decade. Very importantly also, nuclear power is producing reliable baseload electricity. It enhances energy security as well as the stability of the power grid. And nuclear also uses the least amount of land compared to wind as well as solar. For the same amount of electricity generation, wind farm needs 360 times more land, and the solar plants need 75 times more land. However, we understand that one of the concerns for nuclear power is radioactive waste. But ladies and gentlemen, you need not worry, because radioactive waste is subjected under the certain regulation in which there is a strong safety regulation for the handling, the transportation, as well as the storing and disposal, mainly to ensure the human health and the safety for the environment. However, as we need to have more nuclear in the pipeline, there is very important need for ESG branded funds to finance nuclear power. And we're happy to note that several world firsts have been achieved. The first nuclear green bond was achieved in Canada in 2021, and the first green loan was achieved by the EDF. And it's very important that with these ESG funded funds, we have more nuclear power being able to produce clean energy, and this is going to shape a very sustainable energy transition for the country. And ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to spotlight in my concluding remark is, by funding nuclear power in terms of extending the lifetime as well as building new nuclear plants, green loans and green bonds are shaping a resilient energy landscape, as well as it underscores the emerging trend that nuclear power is considered a strong performer for ESG and is now playing a very important role for global as well as national transition to a clean, low-carbon economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Sherifa, for your insights. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the deliberation just now, we can see that nuclear power is one of the future of the ESG, especially in terms of the renewable energy, apart from solar and microhydro. And from our experience in academia itself, now we can see that there are also a few industries that are reaching out to academia to look into doing research on radioactive waste, just like you mentioned just now. So these are the future of the environmental element in our ESG framework. It is also good to listen to what's happening in terms of the ESG development in our neighboring country. And we are very blessed that we have Ibu Tri Mumpuni with us today. Perhaps let's move into the S, the social aspect in ESG. Perhaps Ibu boleh share with us what are some best practices companies in Indonesia that can be adopted to foster a positive impact on society. Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Maybe I have to share a historical story that's already back in early 90s. I think it's 1992, when there is UNCED, it's a United Nations conference on environment and development. And then after that conference, we want to make sure that environment is safe, because our future is environment and sustainability. That's why there is what we call, they call it the CSD, Commission on Sustainable Development. Maybe everybody here that know how UN is trying to push on sustainability for 10 years. That is still not having a good result. So they have what we call World Summit on Sustainable Development. And there is a Millennium Development Goals. 10 years after that, still not something good really comes up. Then they have SDGs. I don't know, after 2030, I hope we all still alive so we can witness how the sustainability is really in place or not. But well, I would like to share with you how our organization in 1990s, sorry, when we start doing what so-called environmental issue and energy with local community, the very best methodology or very important that we are really implementing is, we call it a social preparation. Because development without bringing in the community, you will gain nothing. Community play a very important role. Even the government project, the private sector project, you are thinking of something different and sometimes put away the community aspect. This is what we would like to share with you is we know that it's a community and local community and local resources. We have plenty of local resources in the community level. But what they need to develop them is that there is a technology, financial, and managerial capability. These three aspects play an important role, comes working together with local community, utilizing local resources sustainably. Why I say that sustainably? Because when we talk with local people about utilizing these local resources, we know that we are partnering with them and they know exactly how to make their social surrounding, environmental surrounding will be sustainable. This is a very important, and we all know the result will be this investment is for local community welfare, apart from the private sector who invests. So this is, we call it win-win situations. But what happened now that everybody witnessing, not only in Indonesia, but also all over the world, is that technology, financial, and managerial capability, they all together come to the local community. What they take is only local resources. And when it's happened, that is what we call poverty occur. Why? Because poverty is actually only symptom. The real problems, the community are being divided, separated with their own local resources. Because the investment is for capital accumulation, profit making for those who owns the capital and who owns the technology. So we call that this is investment or investor dominant paradigms. And we have to really change that. That's why whenever we want to do that, we are reconnecting. We are reconnecting the local community with their own local resources. It means that our investment is beyond profit and money. Of course, we need profit because we want a sustainability in the businesses. But at the same time, we remember that our investment is very important to create impact and creating benefit for those local community where the local resources is available. This has to be become what we call it the code of conduct or our protocol whenever we work with the local community spread all over Indonesia as well as in ASEAN countries and some part of Africa. We would like to give an example, and unfortunately this is a very small scale. So we're trying our best to attract the bigger investment to follow this. Not that successful yet, but we already seen there is some good deed that they are interesting because they know that after all, in the end of the day, we want to have sustainability for our future, for our planet, for our people, but at the same time, we have to make sure that all citizens, our community is also enjoying the welfare. Not only for profit, but the welfare will secure their life to be able for them to take care of their social surrounding, their environmental. So this is why all the projects that we do everywhere, we always say a social preparation play a very important role. We are empowering the local community and our activities using what we call not only intellectual capacity, but also empathy capacity. Why this is important? Because empathy now is getting less and less. I will not explain because there are 5 levels of empathy, but I'm sure that our colleague need also sometimes to speak.
Thank you, Ibu Tri, for the sharing of your insights. I think the points that you highlighted earlier concurred very well with the UN SDG 2030, which is leaving no one behind. So in every aspect of our development, we shall also include the community with us, making an impact to the community livelihood per se. So let's look into the governance aspect. In terms of governance and transparency challenges, because we know that strong governance practices build trust, and yet they are often the hardest to quantify. And we have our technologist, Dr. Nur Saidatul, with us today. Perhaps you can also share your insights on what are the current challenges organizations face in strengthening governance within ESG, and how transparency in ESG can be improved to ensure that stakeholders of their commitment to be improved. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And this is a very topic. It's very complex. As you see in organizations, there are levels of intelligence. The top management, you have the business intelligence. You have the operation people, who are people who are down the line in your hierarchy. They are operation intelligence. Now, how do you bring something which is related to sustainability with these 2 levels of people, where now technology is coming in to supposed to help in identifying the data and also the KPI? Now, for those who are still operating in 3P model, product, process, profit, you are not able to capture your ESG because you are still driven by the financial KPI. But if you are going to drive ESG, you need to have your 5P model: product, process, people, planet, prosperity. Now, sustainability is about continuity, it's about survival. Now, where does that sustainability intelligence comes in the governance? Because even though you talk about governance with issues on making diversity in your board of governance, but they will still be driven to look at financial feasibility. So, the issue of hierarchy of intelligence between business intelligence and operation intelligence, you need to have also the piece of sustainability intelligence and system intelligence. And this is where the IT comes in to help to integrate between the top and the one who is delivering those operations. Now, in operation, there is another level, which is project management, where you know most of the time projects are delivered either by the third party or within your organization. Again, there's another level of intelligence. The complexity of the governance is not about just your SOP. It's about your SSOP, which is Sustainably Standard Operating Procedure. And most of the time, people are still trying to make SOP financial viable, while now we are talking about the sustainability element to drive the mission of the company. Now, that is where the complexity of the governance comes in, because when you talk about the word E, S, and G, people think G is last, while G is the one that is supposed to govern everything inside your operations, even for your external stakeholders. So, in terms of ESG, it's your ecosystem. It's just not your operations. And people are driving ESG just to look at the data of your operations. Now, who are your ecosystem? Many of those are your customers, your clients, the government, the bankers, and of course the NGOs. Now, if you don't put them into your ecosystem of sustainability, that means you are still scoping your ESG within your own operation, and even that, you're still struggling to understand the intelligence between what does the top management wants in driving your sustainability, and what does the ability of the operation people who are delivering your services in understanding that sustainability. Now, there is a big gap, and we talk about gap analysis everywhere. But when you talk about governance, talking about transparency, trustworthy, compliance, where the that values get into your operation. So that competency is missing in every level of that hierarchy of intelligence. So this is why governance is very complex to discuss as a subject matter. It's an integration of knowledge, an integration of values, and to what extent you can take to a bigger milestone where your reporting is where you put your brand. And that is where people are scared about branding themselves when it comes to ESG, because they don't have the formula of that intellectual property on how you bring ESG reporting as your element of bringing values of your stakeholders, of your ecosystem into your operations. So this is where I say the question mark is, how many of us are competent enough to handle this hierarchy of intelligence? And because when we talk about hierarchy, we are still not operating in a matrix system. We are still operating in a traditional way. While you look at our Gen Y, Gen X, Gen Z, and the millennials, they are not in the hierarchy system. So the complexity of how we bring talent into sustainability is very, very critical on understanding the method of bringing talent management into the subject of sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Technologist Dr. Nur Saidatul. I think her point can lead us to another discussion. Should we change ESG to GSE or GES, in putting governance as the first element of importance? I think myself and my colleague Prof. Shanti, we have this dilemma now because we are doing the strategic plan for our organization. I think the question that we ask to our top management, like you said, where do you want us to go? What is your sustainability goals for this organization? Because this must come from every level that you mentioned. It's not only from the working group, but it must be from the top management group, the board group. Yeah. So that is the importance of governance in the ESG. And my apologies to the two gentlemen. I unconsciously met my script where I get the ladies to talk first. Yeah, unintentionally. But I would like to invite Dr. Edwin. Technology has become a powerful enabler of ESG. Earlier this morning we heard about AI a lot, yeah? And can you share how these digital tools and data analytics can be of support to this ESG report? For example, how AI and big data can improve decision making and reporting for ESG related initiatives. Over to you, Dr. Edwin.
Thank you. Before I say anything about the role played by all these enablers, first of all, we need to understand one important issue. In a lot of developing countries, most of us are actually consumers, not producers of all this technology. And as a result of which, technology of this manner, this powerful, if falls in the wrong hands, it is even more dangerous than nuclear. And this is what is happening all over, especially in the developing countries, where greenwashing has become the thing. This is because people utilize technology to their favor. Now let's be very honest. The reason why we got into all this is generally because it speeds up work. It actually enhances. It is very effective and efficient. As an analysis, ESG analysis, we have watched around what's happening regionally. And we realize that there is a heavy dependence on AI to produce reports. And as a result of producing these reports, once that reports are produced, they are then remanufactured, if you understand the word, is then remanufactured to suit the report. So that is why I was very impressed. Yesterday there was a speaker towards the end, spoke about STEM. STEM is the foundation for anybody who wants to get into all this. Another element is thoughts, the higher order of thinking. These are the foundations, and we have, for some reasons, neglected this in our educational systems. So as a result of which, most of us come into AI and all the other new technology halfway in between. And when we do that without a foundation, it's very, very difficult. I overheard somewhere once somebody say, you know, I like the practical aspects. I don't have to have the academic theories to understand what I want to do. And I said, this is very wrong. If you don't have the academic aspects, you will not have a full understanding of the concepts, and which then will lead you to do things wrong. So it's a balance that you have to find. And we, to be very honest, in Malaysia, we have to find the balance. And the topic of this, the theme of this discussion now is about the future. Let me tell you, there was this morning, I also heard the AI presentations. And there was a comment by the speakers and so on, that there are too many men and not enough women. Probably that's why Prof decided that the ladies go first today. But whatever it is, there is a host of opportunities to use, ladies. There's something called in the future, which is going to be called planetary accounting system. They are going to move away from the traditional accounting system because of ESG inputs. They are going to consider all three elements, the principles of ESG, into that accounting system. So there are plenty of opportunities of this nature. We don't have the time, I know, because I know that the moderator was having a tug-of-war with the organizers over time. So I'm not going to go into all the details of it. If you go to our website, this FNI website, I'm going to list this all out probably by tomorrow. You can have that available tomorrow. There's something that I want you to understand and take back. Planetary accounting is one of the new things that's going to take place. The other is what my colleague just mentioned. It's about the intelligence. The sustainability intelligence is going to be one of the elements in all talent attracting situations. That means whenever you have interviews, discussions, and so on, when you recruit people, sustainability talented people are required. Okay, and I think she said it very rightly. Okay. The third element is about future executive salaries. Future executive salaries are not just going to be based on performance alone. It's about contribution towards ESG. I think earlier one of the speakers said that there is, I think the speaker from the bank, I think, said something to this effect, that there is now in performance management a lot of components of sustainability is also included. And let me tell you, this is going to take everybody by storm. All performance management systems will ultimately composite at least 40 to 45% of all performance will come from sustainability activities. Okay. So these are things that we have to now start thinking about if we are talking about the future. And I want to say this, ESG is here to stay. No doubt there has been so many framing about what's happening, but it will ultimately come. And the use of technology in all this is a fantastic opportunity which is going to bypass a lot of traditional activities. Okay? And results of all this is going to be unbelievably at a very speed. The speed is going to be unbelievable because of these enablers, which means everything is going to be real time. There is no time for anything that is not transparent. There's going to be no time for anything that is not transparent. So let us all get ourselves organized for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edwin, for sharing the future insights of how technology can become the most important enabler in doing the ESG for each organizations, and also looking into the importance of the foundation of our talent, where Dr. Edwin mentioned about the importance of staff education, and also looking into HOTS, high order thinking skills. And I also like your point about practical aspect versus academic aspects. We can't deny the academic aspect is also important to create a very strong foundation for our future talent development in this area of ESG. Last but not least, our panel for today, Mr. Chen, looking into the future and looking ahead, what are the emerging trends of ESG?
Much thanks for this. If you're looking at the future trends, for most of us who are working on ESG, the first thing that comes to our mind would be carbon disclosure, science-based targets, net zeros, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, right? Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, you're truly blessed, but that's the trend that's going to come up. But for those of you who know what this is, you know how hard this is. Yeah, we have been going through a huge process of getting towards science-based targets, net zero, and maybe you can share this to your co-workers who actually don't know about this. But it might get easier, where companies might understand how to use it, but the laws against this are not going to change. It will get much more stricter. That will be the future of this. But that being said, for companies who are already reporting on their carbon disclosures, the next question will be, what next? So you have all of this information, you have all of your GHG emissions information. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to impact? Are you going to use that to impact on your next actions? How is it going to work for your communities? How is it going to work for your stakeholders? The next point would be, is that, again, when you're talking about ESG, the importance of most people when you think about ESG, again, the E takes over, right? So it is about climate risk, it is about climate change. But the S and G are slowly coming up. The importance of S and G are picking up. We are asking our questions ourselves like, ESG are not three different things. It's a cyclic loop. So it's important to have good G in place so that feeds into the climate actions, and the S forms the core of it. So it's not, it don't like matter where you put the G or the S in it. It is a loop. You need to have good E, you need to have good S, you need to have good G, and it all works together in one cyclic thing. And we are seeing the change as well. We have the importance of that is also coming up. And the final point is, Sir said here, ESG is here to stay. We are seeing the trend in companies. It might be a trend now, but it's going to be a standard operating as we go on. It's going to be an SOP, right? It's going to be inbuilt into the companies itself, where every talk is going to be how are we also going to put on ESG practices as well. We are seeing that in our procurement practices. For example, where earlier we used to talk about trying to work with our suppliers to talk what ESG best practices are you having, to now we are looking at how we are scoring our suppliers to say if you have ESG practices, you have a very good chance to win this particular RFP. Moving forward, ESG will be the norm where suppliers who don't have ESG best practices might not be in the bid, even though even if they offer the best cost. So that's moving forward is going to be the norm, and ESG is here to stay. For the future, what is the future for ESG? I would just like to close it there to say that maybe ESG is the future. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chen, for sharing your insight and advice how organizations can prepare to adopt and embrace this ESG in the future. I don't think we have time. We have time for question and answer. Yeah, we have completed our first round of panel discussion. But for Q&A from the audience. Yes, please.
I'd like to play the devil's advocate here. And we brutal. I think there's a lot of offers about ESG and a lot of platitudes. But the reality is there's a lot of opacity related to the way these figures are tracked. And there's a lot of criticism about even the way carbon capture is even among most pioneering companies. So, from my lived experience, to share a company that does a lot of this reporting for the so-called biggest and best performing companies. And I do realize that there's a lot of spin in it, and the walking of the talk is not there. The future will be, if you're really talking transformation, if one of you could talk about what's the paradigm shift in the way we look at this particularly, but even environment. So labor may have to be not an input but an output, because the quality of life of the people you employ and how you manage them, as well as in the supply chain understanding there's a hell of a lot of iniquity in supply chains. As soon as you put these so-called climate factors in regenerative agriculture, it's costly, it impacts, and so on and so forth. So I'd like you to really play the devil's advocate yourself and answer this. Isn't it a lot of hogwash at the moment? If you're talking the future, we have to build a better paradigm.
So perhaps I invite maybe Chen to elaborate on this, looking into sustainability in the supply chain of the ecosystem. Perhaps you want to respond to the question and comment.
So when you're looking at sustainability across the supply chain, it's very important to see how we can bring forth our suppliers to ensure that they also, as a company, they can work with you. So as companies, we have our own goals here. So how do we get our suppliers in? So one part of it is we can go for the approach of saying like you need to do this, or we can train them. So what we are doing is we are training our suppliers, working with our suppliers, understanding who are these small-scale suppliers, who are the large-scale suppliers, and what kind of best practices we can share with them so they don't feel overburdened by this. A lot of companies, a lot of our suppliers do not report on our carbon emissions yet, but that doesn't mean that they're not going towards the ESG journey yet. So what other things, what other actions they can do besides carbon reporting that works towards ESG? What kind of impact are they making in their local communities, whether it's E or S or G, and how can they then bring that forward? Supply chains, especially looking at scope 3, like supply chains play a huge role, because what impact that brings on is very important as well. So I think that is like the approach to say it's very important to engage with your suppliers, identify who your top suppliers are. If it is a bit overwhelming on the number of suppliers you might have, just like identify who your top suppliers are and maybe start to engage with them from that breakdown.
Okay, another point that I pick up from the question just now is about paradigm shift. So perhaps any of the panel would like to elaborate perhaps what are the single most important action or mindset shift you believe organizations should embrace to effectively integrate ESG into their future strategies. Any panel would like to say a word on this?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Very importantly now, because we have to promote and accelerate ESG in order for the transition actually to enable the world to meet and not miss the Paris target. So there are a few, I would say, innovation that is required. In the nuclear industry, what has happened was in 2022, the European Union has actually included nuclear power in the EU Sustainable Taxonomy, identifying nuclear power as one of the sustainable activities that financiers can support and finance. So following from it, a few of the countries in Europe has actually come on board to adopt and adapt it and got green bonds and green loans in order for nuclear power to be financed. And this is important because the International Energy Chief has mentioned that right now the world is racing to increase the percentage of renewable. But in reality, just renewable is not enough to reach a low carbon economy. So everyone now recognizes that the narrative previously of either nuclear or renewable has to be changed to renewable and as well as nuclear in order that we reach this target and not miss it. So these are some of the new developments in the financing structure that is helping, especially for the nuclear industry, to come on board and to contribute to a low carbon economy as well as effective energy transition.
Thank you. Ibu mau tambah sikit ya? Okay.
It's a very important when we talk about the paradigm shift. This is related to nuclear. Just recently, back in 1991, I'm the one that actually campaigning against the nuclear power plant because the location is not very far from where my parents live. Even though Indonesia is the ring of fire and the place that really chosen is safe from everywhere. But then, this is what we call technology, science, and human capital play a very important role. I just learned that nowadays the technology of nuclear is safe compared to when we have in the previous time, especially before the Fukushima. One thing that is really striking me that when I talk to the expert, that is nowadays there is uranium was covered by silicon carbide and then covered again with the graphene, and then the cooling system is using helium, the gas. So whatever happened, they will immediately turn off by themselves. And this is a very new knowledge that are very important to share to our society so they know that this is nuclear for energy is very safe, also nuclear for agriculture and nuclear for health. Last but not least, I just would like to make all of you, together with us thinking that in 2050 or 60 that we need net zero emission. And in Indonesian context, when we calculate the whole needs or what we have in renewable is less than 3,000 megawatt itself in electricity. And our needs is 600,000. How are we going to fill the gap? So nuclear will come, but we have to make sure that this is safe. The safeguard is play important role. Safe, and it's for humanity. Nuclear for energy and for humanity. It's our tagline. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Tri. She's the living evidence of paradigm shift, yeah? From in the 1990s going against nuclear, now she's a strong advocate of nuclear power for ESG. So we wrap up? Yeah, okay. So with that, thank you once again to all the panelists for sharing your insights And thank you everyone, ladies and gentlemen, for participating in our forum this afternoon. We hope that the discussion can further inspire you to embrace ESG in your organizations. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, moderator and the panelists, for an interesting and eye-opening session. And to present the momentum to all our panelists as well as the moderator, I invite our organizing chairman, Professor Dr. Sarraj, to the stage to present the token of appreciation. With a big round of applause. We have a group photo. Once again, thank you very much to the moderator, Professor T.S. Nur Azia Abdul Wahab. The panelists, Ms. Samantha Taichan, Madam Trimumpuni, Mr. Chanduran Padmanathan, Dr. Edwin Varro, T.S. Dr. Nur Saidatul Mazela, and Ms. Sharifa Nur Kamsia. Al-Idid binti Dato' Sheikh Ahmad Idid. Thank you very much, and I would like to request all our attendees to remain seated because we are going to take a group picture of everyone in the hall. And a quick important announcement to all panelists identified for this afternoon session, after lunch, with Dr. Mariam Shakila. That panelists would be requested to meet the moderator, your moderator, Mr. Venkatesh, at the secretariat room, before leaving for lunch. Right after the photo session, please head to the secretariat room. The panelists for the afternoon session after lunch for a quick meeting. So can I get all the attendees to assemble together? Please be seated at the table, perhaps, and we get all the keynote speakers also seated to get a group picture of everyone in the hall right now. If we can.
esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen, with that,